right, everyone. This is Talking with Friends. I have my friend, Mr. Joe Holweger here. He is the captain of my men's league team and the savior of my ship. I think hockey's a nice landing spot if life's going sideways. And he hit up the group chat and was like, "Who wants to coach with me this year, boys?" And no one responded. So I was like, "Yo, should I do this?" And you're like, "Yeah." And that's how we reconnected, I guess. How are you, my friend?
Not bad, brother. Not bad. No, it's a weird thing. We, played a couple of years together in ACHA hockey, and kind of just like friendships do, kind of drift apart, drift back together, and it's kind of it's funny how close we've gotten in just 8 months, years time, just playing men's league together, and then traveling around, coaching youth hockey together. We get a tournament out in Nashville this coming month. That's gonna be freaking fun. And it's been really cool, and I think it's good for you. It's probably good for me.
And I don't know, man. I didn't realize how much it was. I did private lessons,
crazy
camps and stuff, and then it's like, holy shit! My 3 to 5 days a week now are committed to this, and it's like, here's a small check for your time, sir.
And don't break it down. Don't spend your time breaking it down to figure out how much we make an hour, because I'm pretty sure it's like $3. But no, it takes up all your time, and then not to mention, it's like you get the time the time that we spend at the rink together and at practice, putting practice plans and stuff, but it's like the time that we spend outside of that just talking about what can we do to fix this, right? The Nacho Libre, how can I reach these kids, right? It's like it's a full-time job, man. It's and I feel like sometimes it's a little fucking thankless.
Well, and just dealing with the parents is the worst thing, right? It's like, man, love the kids. We can mold them into what we want, and it takes time, and it's a process. But these fucking parents,
oh, it's insane.
Oh my god! Just the emails, the texts, the little comments as I walk out of the rink. Joe was gone for a weekend, and parents are like, "I can't wait until Joe and Cody get back. This guy stinks." And I'm like, "This is ridiculous." You just said that as I walk out of a loss,
Yeah, well, and it's like, I don't know, man. And I think what I realized too is I thought that. Because I coached 10U 2 years ago, right? So at 10U, they're just dropping their kids off at practice. They're like, you're a babysitter, right? At that point, you're a motivator. You're teaching these kids how to skate. It's not about the X's and O's. You're not teaching these kids how to play hockey, right? You get to 12U, and you start to get to the point where some of these kids are developing some athleticism, and the parents are a little bit more involved, right? Like, oh, my kid has potential. My kid might do something with this. And then you get to 14, and it's like, these kids have kind of reached a point where, they've started to hit puberty and they've developed as athletes. They're becoming more athletic, so then the parents are expecting more of us, right? They're expecting more of their kids, and they're like, oh, shit, my kid can score 2 goals a game playing level A fucking travel hockey in Austin, Texas. They're gonna go to the next level. And it's like, yo, let's pump the brakes, man. We're still teaching them how to fundamentally play the game and, become hockey players. We're not trying to prime these kids to go to the NHL, and you almost have to, I don't know, I thought that the parents were really crazy at this age, and that this was something that's unique to the time. And then talking with my parents about it, my mom is like, my parents were like, my dad would just drop me off at the rink, go work hard, didn't matter what the coach said, he was fucking right, and then that was it. And I thought that the parents just weren't crazy. Mm-hmm. They've always been fucking crazy. This is not new.
I think I was there at your, not lake house, but river house, where we were down there in Canyon Lake, and you're like, were they crazy? Like, oh, they were all fucked the whole time, their whole fucking career, everyone's fucked. And you're like, what?
No idea.
I have no clue.
Yeah, so, I think you're right, though. That's the biggest thing that we've dealt with this season is just parents, man. Just people are fucking crazy.
And when we had those early interviews with the parents and the kids, we're like, hey, what's the next step in your career? Some of them, not even a clue in the world. No juniors, no college. I just want to be good now. It's like, okay, well, what? And then you get other kids yeah, I'm going to get out of here. We're probably moving to Minnesota next year. We're going to play on the AAA fucking North Stars. And you're like, it's such a weird dynamic, the difference between some of these kids. And when I was 14, I was already getting, not drafted, but looked at for the draft for the Dub. That's crazy. And, these kids are like, I want to play Junior B for the Ice Bats. Who? What the fuck? You're going to win 3 games. Sorry, Goldie, but you suck. It's mind-blowing the difference between these kids. And, some of them I just feel like they're out to lunch. Not to name names, but there's a couple kids on the team, you're like, are you even here? What do you bring to this team? Or, why do you want this? I don't know. I always had, I'm gonna make the NHL like my dad. I'm gonna do this. Like these kids are just out to lunch. Like my mom likes hockey, and I now play this expensive sport.
Sure. Well, and I think too. I mean, expensive hits the nail on the head too, because, here, especially here in Austin, talking to some of our friends who have kids that we coach and stuff, it's fucking expensive, man. And it's not just like it was expensive growing up whenever we played, but especially here in Austin for travel hockey, like these kids are paying like $10,000 a year, and so it's not, the accessibility is not there the way that like football or basketball is, where they have it, UIL sanctioned through these schools and stuff, where like it's given to them and the opportunity is there. The only kids that have the opportunity to play travel hockey are the ones that have parents that have significant amounts of expendable income. I mean, and fortunately, I was in that vein, right, where my parents had enough money to put me through travel hockey and put me through high school hockey and everything else. But it didn't, like, now it seems like the pool that we have to pick from and the pool that is available here in Austin is limited to a group of kids whose parents have a shitload of money. And however you think about that, it's, there's a certain type of parent that kind of follows that too, right? So all the kids that we deal with, and the kids that have that available to play travel hockey here in Austin, have parents that have, whether they've worked for it or been given it, have all this money and are kind of like, well, my kid deserves everything because because we have all this money, right? We pay this money, we're paying for a service. Like, we're not the fucking USPS here, right? Like, we're here to coach hockey.
So that's why I get it. Like, you take everything with a grain of salt, right? Like, I see these parents are pissed, or like, we're not winning, or we're not in first place, or whatever. I pay $10,000 for this. It's like, okay, well, maybe you need to pay another $10,000 because, like, maybe that kid needs side work. Maybe he needs a private coach. Maybe he needs a skating coach. Like, whatever it is. But like you said, if you're not in that, if you're not in that echelon, like, how do you make your kid better? How do you, like, because what they're paying us is fucking pennies. So it's like, okay, well, if you fucking add on to this or give us a nice little gift here, I'm not saying that it's all about money, but it is in a sense. Like, you can't, I don't know, buy happiness, right? Like, that's kind of what I feel like they're doing. They're buying this thing, and yeah, I feel let down. Like, when we lose those games, like even just this last weekend, like, that fucking sucks. Like, I paid $10,000 for this, and I just showed up to 2 games, and our kids got their asses kicked. Like, yeah, I get it, man, but like, don't come at us like you're the. Well,
you're not paying for the. My big thing too, and I tell the parents this at the beginning of every season that I coach. It's, you're not paying for a spot on the team, right? You're paying for an opportunity to have a spot on the team, right? And like, everything is earned and not given. And there's a type of person, a type of parent that is, well, we paid for this. Like, we deserve this, right? Like, I paid $10,000, so my son should be on the second line, or my son should be on the first line. I want him on the power play. It's like, fuck you. It has nothing to do about what you paid, right? I don't give a shit how much money you paid. I didn't even know. I coached for this organization for 2 years before I even knew how much the parents paid for it. And I coached the first year without knowing that I got paid. I thought I was a volunteer position.
Well, the one thing that you always say, and I think it's like in any youth sport, it should be available, is that the coaches get to play one shift a game and change like, how it works. Because it is like, if I just the whole time I'm just standing on the bench like useless. I can't. A coaching rule for me is once the game starts, you can't really do much. You can talk to them, give them a little pep talk, like get the juices flowing, but once they step on the ice, you can't. You're not in control anymore. They have to do the things that you taught. And if we got one fucking shift, or I don't know, we got to play 3 shifts
like
a game.
This. Yeah, just do it like this. Just bury some 14-year-old kid.
Like that. I wish that was a thing, because goddamn, like, I'm just like in those 1-goal games where I'm like, man, I could take a fucking one-timer right now from the far red line and score. Like, god damn it,
this
like,
goalie stinks.
Yeah, I'm just like, why can't they do this? And like, so yeah, I whenever you said that, I was like, that is fucking genius. Like, yes, we should get a shift or 2 a game. Like,
or even at those tournaments, man. The tournaments, it's just like, so let's say there's 8 teams in a tournament. There's 2 coaches on each team. Put together a skate for the coaches, right? Towards the end of the tournament, and let us go out there and air it out.
Well, that's what they do in California. I don't know what tournament it is, but my buddy Sam, he did one, and then all the coaches go out there. They split it 50-50. Like you said, 8 teams, 2 coaches each. Throw on bring your shit. Go out there. All the kids are in the stands, hanging on the glass.
How electric would that be?
Like, I'd be fired up. I'd get a fucking, what are those crowds you can pay for? A flash mob? I'd pay for that shit. I'd get, like, I'd fill the barn. Like, there's no way that that's not a thing. But, yeah, I don't know. That's just fantasy land. But, whenever we're out of control in those games, I'm like, God damn it, just give me one opportunity, one shot to go out there and just fuck this game up. But not a real thing.
No. But it's rewarding, man. It's I'm glad that you joined in with me for this season. I've been really fortunate. You know, Miles dragged me in, another guy that we played with at Texas State. He dragged me in. Like I said, I thought it was a volunteer position, and the pay was half of what we get paid then. And I was like, oh, this is great. Like I love being at the rink. Like, you know, I'm sure that you had the same. You know, I had coaches that really reached me whenever I was young and made me want to coach. Where I was like, well, shit, if I can reach, you know, one or two kids the way that my coach, you know, especially like my 18U coach. He really reached me and was like, you know, made me a better person through just not just hockey but in life. And I was like, well, shit, like if I can kind of do that for a couple of kids, then I will have done my job. And it's very rewarding, and especially late in the season, man, you get those late season blues. But it's there's nothing better. I'm so glad that you joined me on the journey. Cheers to that.
Cheers, buddy. We had that little situation last week. I won't get into it, but you know, all three of us, I'm sure, have now talked to Aiden about what happened, and I feel like we all give a different perspective. Like, hey, man, you know, they did that because they love you. Like, they wouldn't pick on you if they didn't actually like you. Like, if they just ignored you all the time, that means that they fucking hate you. But
sure.
You were invited to that party or sleepover, whatever it was, whatever went down. But, like, that, and just that little, I hope that helps him. I don't know if it does. Like, it's a shitty situation. But like,
he'll grow from it regardless.
Yeah.
Right? Like...
And that's what I hope that these kids take from this is these little lessons can then go into your career or your relationship or whatever it is. Like, hey, let's fucking figure it out. Let's, like, we don't need to break up. We can fix this. Like, little things like that. Like, keep going. Build, you know, get more better throughout the game. Good shift. Okay, next shift, we're going to do a little bit better. Hey, I just got scored on. Next shift, I go out there, I'm going to make up for that. Same thing in life. You fuck up, you got to make up for that shit. You can't keep stacking losses and fucking the thing falls over. Like, you got to have a balance there. And I just hope that some of these kids take that. And, you know, maybe I don't deliver it correctly, or maybe they don't, you know, receive it the way that they should. But, you know, same thing when we're yelling on the bench, like, come on, man. Like, I mean, we're not tearing them down, but, like, that's the way that I was taught from coaches was, like, to get them fired up, like, get the shit going. But then you look at some kids when you yell at them and they just shut down. It's like, oh, no. Like,
people reach in different ways, right? Like, I mean, again, it's like we've both been there and played hockey at, you know, different levels, and you see that some kids respond in different ways, and it's the same way when you into the workforce. And ultimately, like, a big thing that, you know, I tell parents too is we're prepping these kids to be better at hockey, right? And like, we want these kids to take hockey as far as they go, but at the end of the day, we're coaching A-level travel hockey in Austin, Texas. The odds of any one of these kids that we've touched, you know, like in the hockey sense, is the odds of any of them going to the NHL are almost none. Right, but what we can do is teach them to be better hockey players so that they can continue to stay with the game, stay healthy, and teach them life skills and teach them how to be, you know, young men that enter the workforce and enter them as competitive young men, right? And that, you know, can be successful outside of hockey. And I mean, ideally, hopefully they stick with it, right? Like, hopefully they play hockey until they're fucking 55, 60 years old playing men's league.
And even if it's just like the athleticism, like a workout, right? That's what we do. We coach a workout. We systematically make a workout for the kids, skating around, whatever it is. But I just hope that they maybe take that, because once hockey stops, like, I blew up to, like, I think the max, like, I was like 230, but like, I weigh 160. Like, how the fuck? And it's just what happens when you shut it down. You don't move your body, that shit just fucking loses all control and goes all over the place. And I just hope that they at least take the workout part, the mentality, the compete level, like, just take that with you.
Sure.
Fuck the game, because you're
it's
probably
applicable to everything.
Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. It's, you know, in my mind, my dad played, so like, I'm going to do that too. It's like, oh, he's a boot salesman. Yes, I'm going to be a boot salesman too. Like, no, it's not the way it worked out. But I hope that these kids got something from us. I think me and Cody, like, we fucking ripped this up, man. Like,
I think so too.
Such
a sick dynamic.
If we could keep this going for years, it'd be awesome. But I know it's. I think we've hit our ceiling and or whatever, and like, we're coming back down to a landing spot kind of thing. So, I loved us together the whole year, and then when throwing Cody, like, holy shit, man, like, X's and O's, like, just the hockey background, whatever, like, it's crazy just to add one person to that relationship, and it just blossoms like even better. Like I wasn't sure. I was like, "Fuck, am I gonna be the last man out? Like, am I not even gonna be able to talk in the locker room?" Or I don't know. It's just second guessing it a little bit. But I'm like, you know what? Fuck. Like, there's 3 of us. One of us is sick. Like that makes it okay. And like you can all rotate through, and everyone has their bad days or whatever. And like, hey man, I'm just fucking feeling down today. I can't come. But
well, how much better does it make the practices too? I mean, we got three minds together. Between the 3 of us, we've got damn near 60 years, maybe more of hockey experience between the 3 of us.
Yeah.
Right? Like we're throwing all the resources that we can at these kids, and I think that we do. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I feel like we do a pretty damn good job.
Yeah. That's why I just can't take it when I get this criticism. I'm like, what the fuck?
It's so frustrating.
You can't say thank you when we win, but when we lose, fuck, you're gonna hear it. Like when I'm getting those texts from Carl saying, "Fucking, that was a coaching decision. That's your fault. We lost that game." It's like, no, I'm not on the fucking ice. Like, don't. And then, like, kids are pissed off that they're getting held back in those games, but I can't put liabilities on the ice over and over again without repercussions. So, like, I have to shorten the bench, and
it goes right to life. Right? This is the same shit in life. It's the same shit in life. Like you can't just hand out participation awards, and you can't just like if I fuck up at work, right? When I don't know how I mean, if I turn the puck over, right? Metaphorically speaking, at work over and over again, you think that I'm going to keep getting the call to be first line? Like it's not going to happen, right? And that's something that that accountability is something that again is going to translate to real life, right? Like we've got some really talented hockey players that play underneath us, and that's great if they go and play juniors or they go play somewhere afterwards. But I think that ultimately what we can hope for is that they understand the lessons that we're trying to teach them, that the lessons that were taught to us as athletes, and it all translates to real life, and then they can be successful in real life because statistically you break it down, the percentage of athletes, talented athletes that go and make a bunch of fucking money playing hockey is very, very slim. Right? That can't be our main aspiration as coaches.
I think like a lot of these kids, because of the value of their family or whatever, handed a lot of things too, right? Not saying that's wrong in any matter, but I want this PlayStation 5. It's on the fucking doorstep the next day on the click of a button. And then we're like, well, why am I not on the power play? What? And like, my kids, like this weekend was ridiculous. Coach, do you want me going out with it? It's like, dude, shut the fuck up. I will let you.
Where's my PlayStation 5?
What did you say to him? What did you say to him at one point? You're like, trust me. I'm not gonna...
Yeah. I was like, buddy, I fucking promise I will not let you fucking wonder who's going out. Like, you're not going to be, you guys aren't going to be standing on the bench, who's going next? Stop fucking asking me every single time the puck drops, who's going next? I promise I'll fucking tell you. Holy cow.
Like, do they think we're out to lunch? Like, just not doing anything? And we're back. Joe had to take a work phone call. Work is bullshit. I don't understand why they make phone calls at these times. Oh, Connor Roche is calling me. Should we put him live on the podcast? Hey, Connor, it's Kyle Hughes. You're live on Talks with Friends with Joe Holweger. Just wanted to give you the heads up. What's going on, buddy?
What?
You heard me.
I heard some of you.
Okay.
Damn, dude, I didn't know you fucking lived in Georgetown.
I just said that to Joe. I was like, he says he's going to be here 7 to 8, but he has no idea how far I live from him.
Yeah. Fuck.
Just
Man,
start.
I really don't want to make a drive. Is there any way we can do it next week, and then I'll just bring a spare of clothes after my hockey lesson.
Guarantee if you get here, there's beers, there's all kinds of stuff. You're going to be fine. It's all free. Come on, Connor. All the job opportunities I gave you in the world, I kept you around for I don't know what reason, but I'm putting my hand out. I'm asking you to grab my hand and come on over.
Can we just, postpone this 1 week?
Oh, come on, Connor. You're live on a podcast. The people want to hear you.
I know. They can wait a week.
Dude, I have an extra 2 bedrooms here. If you don't want to go home, you can just sleep here. Like, come on.
Dude.
Come on.
So far. I just looked it up. I'm not even home yet, and it said 45 minutes.
This is Texas, Connor. 45 minutes is nothing. That's a 15-minute drive to most people.
I'm still going south. I'm not even home yet.
Perfect. Well, get home, get your outfit, make sure you look sharp, and then get up here. Make sure you shave off all your facial hair.
Why? You don't like my my beard, bro?
Dude, that was so weird when I FaceTimed you. I'm like, who the fuck is this? I was like, this is not Connor.
Yeah, I'm Grizzly Adams now, boy.
All right, well, get your ass up here. I don't care what time you get here. I'll wait until 2 if I have to. All right, love you. See you soon. Bye. That's awesome. He thought he was going to get out of that shit. Fuck you, dude. All right, so we're back, and Connor Roche will be the next guest. But, Joe, do you know anything about aliens? Do you think they exist?
Of course they do.
Like, the probability, right, with this huge universe, even just Milky Way galaxy, there's so many other ones.
10 to 10.
Like, there has to be some kind of form. And the one that makes it very interesting to me is they're saying there's a fifth dimensional aliens. They're actually here with us right now. And if you take some things, you can kind of see or hear whatever's going on. Been there, done that. But, like, that's wild to me. So what they're doing right now with some people in clinical studies, right? So they actually have doctors there. They're giving them DMT, which is about a 7-minute experience in 10 minutes. No, just people. Yeah. Sorry, going into the fifth dimension. So the fifth dimension is just they're here with us. They're just we can't perceive it in these meat vessels that we have, right? We can't see it with our dog eyes. Like we're just so basic. But then once you die, DMT is released into your brain. You naturally make it yourself. You can make it at home too. But like. DMT, they're putting people into clinical trials where they're trying to keep them in there for about an hour, which that means you have to keep running it back. Like it's got to be injectables, right? So they're giving them DMT through a vein or whatever, and they're trying to keep them there for an hour. Now, these people are all coming out talking about the same place, same starting point, same beings that they talk to. How fucking weird is that?
That's insane.
That's just DMT. So then, when I just showed you that jellyfish UFO or whatever the fuck, ATP, whatever the fuck they're calling them now, like I saw that in Destin, Florida, but I told you, I can't tell my family that in the morning. Like, how fucked up were you last night, Kyle? You have same thing with commercial airline pilots. They can't say, oh, I saw a little tic tac next to my fucking plane the whole way. It was almost like a little guiding angel, because then you have to get a psych eval. You have to fucking get a drug test. Like, you're fired. Like, you have to find a new company. Like, so like a lot of tongue-in-cheek kind of shit where you like don't want to say anything about it. And now there's like, I'm listening to podcasts today with this guy that's UFO dude, and he's like, yeah, by 2027, whoever the president is will have to release all these documents on UFOs, show you the film, show you the footage of the aliens, what they are, where they live, are they here, are they from somewhere else. Like, that's wild that they've been planning this since 2004 to tell us slowly what's going on. Like, I don't know, like. And, like, do you trust the fucking government? Like, I'm just like...
Does anybody?
Yeah, so it's like, dude, like, is that real? Is it not? And, you see the footage and, like, whatever, right? But it's just mind-blowing that they have a plan. So, like, right now, Biden, by March 2024, has to get 9 people from the Senate onto a board to be the people that run through all this, say what we can see, whatever, make a decision. That's just mind-blowing to me. And then 2027, they're going to blow it out and be like, yo... They live in Detroit. Like, that's why all the housing is gone now. Like, I don't know what like, that's so crazy to me. That, like, we live in, like, and I always thought aliens were real as a kid. Like, it's just too much, like, drinking. It's in the society. It's a cultural thing.
Sure.
Aliens has been a thing since we were kids.
Yeah.
So,
no,
like,
that wouldn't be surprising.
I don't know, but that's fucking crazy. They could just be with us, but in a different dimension. Like, and, like, when I see my cat, like, look at the wall and there's nothing there, and I'm like, oh, fuck, is something here? Like, is it my uncle? Like, I don't know, like, when you died, you go into the fifth dimension and you just live there with us?
Is there a fourth, too? Because, like, there's 3 for sure, right?
Yeah.
3-dimensional would be, like, something that's, like, tangible that you can hold, right? So then there's a 4th, and now we're talking about a 5th?
Yeah, like, we're getting deep into the dimensions. So, like, it's... But, like, how weird is that with the DMT guys? Like, hey, take this, and then, like, they're all, like, even my friends who are taking DMT, they tell me the same thing. Like, I was there with something. I don't know if it was God or if it was just another being or it was my dead uncle. Like, it's just, it felt like home, and I'm there, and it's gone in 7 minutes. You don't really get to, you might get some screenshots, say, in there, but you're not going to have that full memory of what exactly happened. So these guys are coming out, writing it down right away, recording it on a, whatever, drawing it, like,
what a job.
That's fucking crazy. Like, if I've done the Chew studies at UT, I've done some cool shit for money, but that sounds fucking crazy. And there's a doctor there, so if anything goes wrong, you're like, oh, fuck, pull him out. Like, he's too deep, he found the big one.
Jeez.
Osama bin Laden.
That's out there, man.
Alright, so, you just went on a trip. Where did you go? I just saw cave drawings, and I'm like, holy shit, my friend's doing crazy shit in Mexico?
Yeah, we were down near Mexico. We basically put in, and without getting too specific on where we were at, just because it is it's very remote. There's no trails. There's no campsites. There's no, there's no real easy access. And finding these, there are a couple well-documented caves down there that have the pictographs, some of the stuff that I posted pictures of. We went to some ones that are a little bit more remote. But yeah, it's down, not down near the Del Rio area, where the Pecos meets the Rio Grande. We put down there and we put in some flat-bottom John boats, carried our gear in canoes, and fought our way up north on the Pecos River. And it's the canyons down there are pretty freaking cool, and water's nice and clear, and fishing's good, and there's all kinds of caves and stuff. It's which I didn't really know that much about. It's the third time that I've been there, and I've seen these caves before and have been down there. And my dad's real into Native American history. I just got done reading Empire of the Summer Moon, which is a really, really, really cool book. But what's cool down there too is I didn't know this until afterwards when we got back to civilization and kind of looked up these caves and stuff. These are some of the oldest pictographs in Texas, and some of the oldest in North America. They dated them to like 4000 BC. So this is like before they even really, could put a finger on established tribes and stuff like that. We ran down there, and we've been trying to get back up there because the river silt builds up real bad between the Pecos and the Rio Grande, and it's very, very difficult just because of how shallow the water is and how silty it is. It's real difficult to get up there. We've been trying for years to get back up there, and we're finally able to do it. We went up there for 3 days, a couple close friends, and my dad and one of his friends, and we went and hiked all the caves and caught a bunch of catfish and camped for a few days.
So on those cave walls, right? Like, can you pick out stuff? Like, do you see there's like a buffalo, or like, is it just kind of you're like, what the fuck is this?
It's a little bit of both. There's down there in that area, and there's one that you can kind of look up that's called Panther Cave, and there's a big painting of a panther. I mean, it's probably 5 feet across, 3 feet tall, big curly tail, and that's like very clearly, is a big cat.
Maybe it's a jaguar.
I'm not gonna speculate on exactly what creature it is, but I mean, they call it Panther Cave. It looks like a freaking black panther. It's got a big curly tail. You can look it up, and it's on the Rio Grande, just I guess what would be east of where the Pecos meets the Rio Grande. And there's they have like a little boat dock. They have a cage on it so people don't vandalize it and shit.
Fuck. I can't draw a dick on that thing.
Right.
What the fuck?
And there are some there on the Rio Grande that are a little bit more well documented that you can get to. Right. There's like trails. They've like built a little staircase and all that. The ones that we went to that were a little further north are, not undocumented, but I mean it's hard to call it graffiti, right? But it's from 1910. There's a guy's name and that he etched in there, and it was from April of 1910 that a guy had been there.
What are you doing down there? Like, why are these people?
Right. Well, there used to be a train station that ran down through there, down through Comstock, and so apparently there's a bunch of looting of all the native stuff and all that. But this particular and you can find it on my Instagram. But this particular cave that we were in, it's so difficult to get to. It's almost a sheer climb. It's not. You can't see it from the river. Like, if you don't know where it is, you're not gonna find it. But you have to climb up a sheer, almost a wall. It's all loose rubble and shit. And once you climb up in there, then you can see that the top of the cave is covered in soot. Right, so there's obviously been fires in there, and the entire floor of it is covered in like 3 inches of ash. So whenever you're stepping around in it, it's very, very loose, silty ash that kicks up and all that. And you're finding grind holes. There's a molcajete down there that we found. It's like you ever seen those like Mexican bowls with like the little muddling deal?
Yeah.
It's like
avocado.
Something like that. And it's very clear once you get up in there, you're like, well, they were here, right? Beyond the pictographs, which are insane. And back to your other question too. It's there's depictions of people, right? They're almost like not stick figures. They almost look like the shape is like of that Among Us game, right?
Yeah.
That's like almost the shape that they depict. and there's like these orbs that are like maybe the sun. There is one that's pretty clearly a guy with an arrow in his gut. That's just pretty cool. And there's a bunch that are just covered up by the soot, where where there's been so many fires burned in there that it's kind of
in there with an air blower and fucking get all this
right.
shit out. It's fucking.
But what's cool too is that there's a I can't remember the name of the group. It's kind of like a USGS kind of deal that they surveyed. And looking back on it, I think it was done in like the 50s or 60s, where they came and surveyed all these caves and all that.
So would that cave be documented that you went to, or
it's documented, but it's very difficult to look up because we tried to look it up just to be like, like what are we looking at? Like somebody, we're not the first ones there, right? Like you don't see a lot of footprints, and like I said, it's so remote and difficult to get to. You're not, I camped up there for 10 days one time and didn't see a person. Right? You don't hear a car. Yeah, you don't hear a car. You don't see a boat. Like there's nothing, and so it's it's a very unique place. And that one is probably the most notable cave that we hiked. We found another one too that was way up in the canyons, because the canyons, I mean the walls in the canyon when you're down in the river 300-400 feet tall, and so we did a big hike where we found a cave that we had seen from the river, and you could see it way up there, way up, and you can see that the ceiling of the cave is black, right, which is telltale, that there was some, there were inhabitants at one point. Yeah. And it probably looked a lot different too, because the Rio Grande, it kind of runs down to Amistad right there. Now they're in the, Del Rio right on the border. Mm-hmm. And, that's obviously has been dammed. There's all kind of, the waterways have changed drastically in the last 6,000 years. Yeah. So you almost got to wonder, like, what did this place look like back then? And, this is what we're looking at now. I mean, you're finding seashells. We're finding seashells in these caves that are 300-400 feet in the air in a riverbed, and you're still, I don't know how many miles. It's 600 miles from the ocean, and you're finding seashells in these caves and stuff. And but I mean, yeah, we literally from our campsite, we had seen where this cave is, right? The big one that we gone in, and again, it's all on my Instagram. But we saw the cave, and there's no route to get there. It's very, very sheer. And so what we did is we climbed on the back side of that, and we hiked all the way to the top, above everything, on top of the canyons. And then we hiked until we could look over the edge and see where that cave was.
How'd you get down to it?
Sketchy shit. You just climb. You find some rocks that you can kind of shamble down, and
here's a rope.
Yeah, and you just climb down in it. And
it's my roofers. You had to tie off.
But it's cool, man. We found all kinds of like woven cactus fibers and grind holes and worked flint and, like I said, soot on the ceilings and ash on the floor. And there's no footprints, right? Like there's like nobody goes in there. You see some like aoudad tracks and aoudad shit on the floor and stuff like that from the animals that go up in there. But again, it's just so remote. It's a very I don't know. It's a very unique place to go and visit, and it's a place that whenever I post online and stuff, I don't ever geotag it. Yeah, if someone sends me a message, hey, where is this? Yeah, I'll kind of give you where it's at. And I've some of my close friends or somebody that's really kind of into that stuff was to ask me, hey, where is it? Be happy to drop a pen, share a GPS location, but it's kind of it's not a secret or whatever, but it's something that I kind of hold close to me because I don't really feel like
gatekeeping.
Yeah, gatekeeping.
Is that what the kids say? Gatekeeping.
But the last thing that I want is for it to be a place that's easily accessible, right? Like it needs to be places like that deserve to have. The only people that go and see that kind of stuff are the people that really want to get there. It shouldn't be super easy. Like you can look up pictures or whatever, and that's great. But like if you think that you're gonna go and have a luxurious camping trip and set up your big fancy tent RV. And bring your RV down there or something. That's something that I don't ever want to happen to that part of the world, especially as such a cool, unique part of Texas, and that's just a cool piece of Texas history and just history in general. I mean. Something what is 4,000 BC? It's 6,000 years ago. People were down there doing that stuff. It's you can sit and just spend we'll just sit in there and just bring a couple beers with us and just sit in these caves and just be like, man, what was life like then?
Do you get a vibe while you're in there? Like, does it feel like pressure? Is it like, for me, I'm a big concert guy or whatever. So like when I go to a concert and it's like bad vibes, like when I was at whatever that fucking place was a few weeks ago for Elderbrook. Superstition. I got in there. I was like, I don't like this at all. It's like frat bros, like, you know. But that's what people, right? So I don't know if like, do you go into a space and do you feel a vibe? Like,
there's definitely a vibe.
Like this is like some native, like
For
I
sure.
don't know, like maybe there's spirits there, like something.
It doesn't feel like, and for me, and like I'm not maybe the most spiritual person in the world, but like it doesn't feel like super spiritual or anything like that. It's just kind of like looking around and being like, well, this was like somebody's habitation, right? Like, and you can kind of walk around and see like where these grind holes are, right? And you can see where this, you know, like a big rock face would almost act like a kitchen counter or something. And you're like, okay, well, like this is maybe where somebody prepared their food, right? Or like you see like, you know, deeper areas into the cave where you're like, well, this is a great place. Like if you wanted to lay your head and get out of the weather, right? Or like stuff like that, where you can almost draw conclusions on being like, well, this is maybe what they were doing whenever in their spare time, right? Or like, especially too, like you can find, and this is something that's, I guess, probably documented too, but like you find areas where there's a lot more worked flint, right? Where you can tell, okay, well, this is where people worked, right? Where this is their workspace, and this is where they were making arrow points and stuff like that. And then other areas where you're like, well, this looks like a place where someone might have slept, or this is where someone might have prepared food, or something like that. And it's a cool experience just to sit in there and be like, well, I'm very disconnected from these people, but at this moment in time, in this incredibly remote place with these people that I'm very attached to, you know, what friends, family, stuff like that, being like, this is it's very unique and very, not spiritual, but like, just moving, right? Where this is something that's really, really unique and cool. And it also feels too, like, right, it goes back to the gatekeeping thing. It goes back to like, this is something that is not accessible to the normal person, right? Like somebody that's just like, you know, used to living in an apartment in downtown Austin isn't able to get to, right? Like you have to have a certain type of boat. You have to have a certain amount of gumption that is like, I want to get to these places that are remote and unique and historical, and you know, and that's something that I hold pretty close to me, and something that I enjoy reading about and learning about too.
So like with that boat, did you buy that boat specifically for this kind of trip, or did you already like, I got this boat at home?
So my dad bought a boat from some old farmer out in Uvalde County. It was a like a 12-foot John boat, little flat bottom boat, and he never used it, right? And then whenever my wife and I were engaged and we lived in Bandera, we were right there next to the Medina River, and I was just like, yo, like, let me keep your boat at my house after work. We just want to go out on the river, have a couple beers, and hang out. And within like a couple of weeks, I was like, holy shit, I have to have one of these, right? It's nothing fancy, right? Like there's nothing like glamorous about this boat. You're not having guests on it, right? Per se, you might have one person, maybe two. And so during COVID, you know, COVID happened, and I started looking. I was like, well, you know, I'd like to have one of these of my own. So I stopped using my dad's, and my dad can really be an asshole about using his stuff. And I was like,
tell me about it.
right? And so I bought this boat off of a state trooper out of Kerrville. Saw it online, and you know, I think he wanted $1,200 for it, and you know, he fancied himself a craftsman. He cut a bunch of holes in it and was going to make a duck boat of it. Realized that he got himself in a little too deep, and so I went and bought it from him, and I built a bunch of decking on it. I was a carpenter by trade at the time, and built a bunch of decking and made it my own, and bought a motor, 1979 Evinrude, and
I know what that is,
right? And but old motor, and figured that out. Didn't know anything about engines at the time, and that's something that I've kind of fallen into as a hobby, is fixing engines, and I'm actually rebuilding that engine as we speak.
Are you into car engines as well, or just boat? Like you're
just whatever.
Like
I like engines. But yeah, so I bought the boat, rebuilt it, sealed it all up, bought a motor, got into that, and then had it just because I liked fishing and I liked being on the water. And then when we moved to Austin, it became a really big thing for me too, because it's so damn crowded here. Yeah, you know, there's a lot of natural beauty. So it's, you know, people are like, oh, like, you know, Barton Springs is beautiful. I'm like, yeah, it's great if you like being around fucking 5,000 people. So it became something where I'm like, okay, well now I can put in on Lake Austin and I can go run up north by the dam and, find the cool water and get away from people and tie up to a tree and have some space to my own. And then one of my dad's friends, who is a real avid, I don't even know if you would have called him an explorer, but he's just like this real rich guy, and they fly around in helicopters and look for Indian caves.
The fuck?
And he's got, tons and tons of artifacts that he's collected, and
like just like you're talking about, like ones in the air, or like just any fucking cave, like just
any of them.
And how does he find? He just like looks down. He's like,
yeah. Well, there's telltale signs, right? Like I was telling you, like the soot on the ceilings. Like another thing that you can look for in caves is like they call it a big green tongue, right? Like a tongue coming out of the cave. That's very, you'd be in the black brush country where it's real rough, and you'll see like big green tongues hanging out of these caves, and it's from them throwing seeds and stuff out whenever they're preparing food and doing other things. And so there's telltale signs.
Vegetation on the edges.
Yeah, vegetation down below these caves, and that's usually a sign that there was life there, right? Like that it was habited at some point. And so he was actually the one that told us about these caves that I've got on my Instagram that have this pictographs and all that. And he taught us a lot about what to look for and stuff like that. And so years ago, probably five-ish years ago, we started running down there in flat bottom boats, because I had one, my dad had one. We'd go run down there and we'd go find them. We'd spend days out there just looking for caves. And so now we found a couple really cool ones, and then now it's like, okay, now I want to bring my friends and show these people that I think would appreciate that kind of stuff, and take them down there and show them.
Do you think I'd survive this trip?
I think so.
Like, I feel like I'd just be a little bitch in the corner, like, no, like, it's cold. Like, you guys went when it was fucking cold.
We went swimming.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah,
what?
Yeah, we went swimming.
With a fucking, like, how?
No, it's insane, man. It's not for everybody, I think that we've got it figured out now.
Warm.
No.
I don't know, fucking
No, water was in the 30s for sure. It was the coldest. There's a video. I'll show it to you later. But there's a video of us jumping in, me and Miles, and we jump in, and I come up and I try and say holy shit, and I can't even get it out. It's so cold. It was like an ice bath.
Fuck that.
And I don't understand how the folks that do that cold plunge shit, man. I'm just like, I'm good.
We did
but
it
the
in Corpus.
endorphins, holy cow!
No, yeah.
Afterwards,
that's the thing.
It was like 40 degrees outside. I'm walking around in a bathing suit.
You're hit with the heat shock protein is what they're called, and it's like survival mode. Your body's like, we have to get this bitch back to like.
I was like, give me a beer.
Yeah.
But no, I think that you would make it, man. And it's the first time that we went was rough, right? Like,
you don't know where you're going.
We didn't bring the right tools. We didn't bring enough gear. Like, everything. It was really, and that's, during the summer, it's like you're not even pitching a tent. It's so hot out there. Yeah. You're just laying a bedroll on the ground and sleeping on the floor.
How do you stay cool when it's hot?
Hang out in the river.
Yeah, okay. It's a natural way to cool down.
But it's cool too. The fishing's insane. The white bass run every year down there. We missed the white bass run by a couple of weeks this year.
You said that's the southernmost point that bass run, or
no? No. That's
something else.
Yeah, that's down at over towards Canyon Lake. They stock the rainbow trout, and you can catch rainbow trout down in Central Texas, which is crazy too. But yeah, it's a unique place. The boat kind of got me into exploring places like that. We'll run up the Devil's River, which is a very similar place. It's kind of on the north side of Amistad. It's a little bit more well documented. There's a lot of kayakers and stuff that run up there. But that's kind of that, buying that boat from that DOT agent and doing all that is kind of what got me into it. And then now I'm thinking of, I want to get a bigger, more comfortable boat, and want to do some more stuff. But I almost feel like I shouldn't relinquish my little boat, because I'll never be able to get back up the Pecos River, because the water's like, dude, when you put in, the river's flowing 15, 20 feet across, and it's flowing pretty good, and the water's like, I don't know, 10, 14 inches deep. So, you have to be in a very purpose-built vessel in order to navigate the shallow waters in order to get up into a place like that.
And do you think, like, while you're driving there, people drive past you and you've got them on trailers, I assume, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, I know where these motherfuckers, like, they're going, like, or is that just like, oh, it's a boat?
Out there, like I said, it's close to Del Rio, and so Del Rio, they have Amistad, which is a huge lake. Half of it's in the United States, half of it is in Mexico. and they do big fishing tournaments. It's a massive lake, so I don't think it's surprising to see boats down there. You know, once and like you know, in the Pecos River, it fluctuates a lot, and you're putting in right there where the Pecos meets the Rio Grande, and there's no boats down there. Like, there's a boat ramp, but you have to drive another 300 yards off the boat ramp and shove the boats off in the mud. You know what I mean? So it's surprising to anybody that might see that. You'll definitely get the attention of the Border Patrol down there.
Yeah, shit. Like we would go to Laredo and they're checking our hockey bags in Corpus for drugs. I'm like, we're just going to practice, dude. Like, what the fuck is going on? Because we had to share the rink with Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Yeah.
So like, they're playing in the fucking Sweet 16. See ya, boys. And we're like, oh fuck, go to Laredo, and they're fucking checking. I'm like, I can't imagine how much fucking like.
Oh yeah, you mean
micromanaging, if you will. By
it's one of those things. It's like at the boat ramp. There's a sign that encourages you to stay armed.
Jesus.
You know what I mean? Like that, and you know, you will have the Border Patrol run up on you at least once when you're down there. We had them come twice this last time. Once when we were putting in, once we were taking out, and they come down and, you know.
Well, sorry, I just called it. I was like, DEA, move in.
Right. But no, I mean, they come through and they're just like, hey, like, you know, are you armed? Yep. You know, I've got a 45 long Colt underneath the boat, underneath the seat of the boat. That's great. Keep it there. You know, what are you guys doing? You know, just fishing, dicking around. All right, cool. You know, y'all stay safe and, you know, get back safe and all that. And
but if you're brown, it's a whole different.
I'm certain that there's a whole nother narrative that's drawn pretty quickly if you know, if we're a couple Mexican guys with a ton of bags and a little
bunch of blacked out
600
water
yards
bottles
from Mexico. So so but it's cool too that on the water bottle point. You know, during the summer when we go, my dad and I ran up there 10 days one time, and you know, there's springs that come out of the side of the mountains, so you can just refill you take a gallon jug per person, you just refill them when you get thirsty.
Water on the side.
Yeah, it's great.
Woo! So I miss about Canada, like we would just drink out of the faucet. It's like, yeah, this is from the mountain. Like, it's clean.
You don't do that here in Austin?
Oh fuck no! Jesus Christ!
I'm a tap water guy.
I go to an alkaline water store and then I put it into a hydrogen water bottle that turns it into hydrogen water. What the fuck am I doing? Like, and then I'll have 40 of these, and I say, oh, my health is perfect. Like, what a fucking life. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How do you get a wife?
Oh man, that's a tough one. I ended up with one.
I mean, Jerica is a spark in my life. Like, when she's around, and like, she's a great person, like, just down to earth, cooked all that food for us. I'm like, how long did it take you to cook this? She's like, 2 days. I'm like, holy shit, dude. Like, I could have just brought us pizza. Like,
right?
I'm like, this is awesome. I'm like, that, like, I don't know how y'all mix or like whatever, but like, I'm like, this is perfect for Joe. And like, you guys almost like are just not total opposites, but you know, like,
yeah, a little yin and yang there for sure. No, it's, I don't know, finding somebody that's that unique and graceful and I don't think that I can really like give advice on how to find something like that. I think that she kind of found me to a large degree, but yeah, no, it's, I mean, in college, just I met her blacked out drunk, as many college couples do. We were at Worst Fest and blacked out, tried to walk home from New Braunfels, got picked up by a friend, and she was in the back seat.
Walk back to San Marcos?
Yeah, I thought I was going to walk back to San Marcos. And so I woke up I passed out in the back seat, and I woke up, and my friend dropped me off at the house, and I woke up, and she was sitting on my lap, and I was like, I'm going to make out with you. And
love the eyes. Oh my God.
And I did, and then she is the one that reached out to me, took me to a hockey game because she found out I was into hockey, and same night we decided we were going to go to Colorado, so we came back after we went to the San Antonio Rampage game there in San Antonio, drove back to San Marcos.
Did Kyle Turris play on the team at that time?
Dude, I could not tell you.
Okay.
But we got back, went to the bar. The girls were pretty fucked up. Went back, took a shower and all that, and me and my buddy Christian, we just decided that we were going to go to Colorado.
On a whim?
Right now.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So we just, it's 2 a.m. We closed down Sean P's, and called the girls and we're like, hey, y'all want to go to Colorado? They're like, yeah, that sounds cool. Like that'd be fun. When? We're like, get in the truck.
I love that shit though. It's so sporadic. You're like, let's go to fucking Mexico. You're like, what? Like,
yeah.
what are you talking about?
So we got in the truck and we drove 14 hours to Breckenridge.
Cool.
Actually, I think we might have stayed in Keystone that year, and we skied for a couple days, and then I guess she liked me. I liked her too, and so then we made that work, but it was that was like right before that was the semester before I graduated, so I had 3 months left of college, más o menos, and but I told her because I was already looking at jobs overseas and stuff. I didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't want to stay in America, and I told her, I was like, hey, like, you know, this isn't gonna be a long-term thing. I was like, you're great and this is fun and all that, but you know, I'm gonna move to the other side of the world. And she was like, yeah, that's fine. Like, all right. So ended up moving to China and stayed there for damn near 2 years. And when I came back, she was at my return home party and was like, hey, me and you, we're gonna do this. And I was just like, yes, ma'am. And we moved in together, and
that's just a crazy thought that you leave to go to China. And did you have like a contract, or you're just like, this is year by year? Like, I'm gonna go here and like whatever. Like,
man, I feel like we might have signed a 1-year contract with a company called Bei Le, which is like in Chinese it means best learning. So it was like best learning.
Yeah.
It was like a private school for.
I like that name.
It was like a private school for rich kids that want to learn English, and I think we might have signed a 1-year contract right off the bat. And I ended up staying longer through that, obviously.
And did you do also that same job after the year? Like, did you do it for 2 years, or did you?
Yeah,
like,
no, I stuck with it.
I'm a musician now.
No, I stuck with it. There was definitely a time where we started making good money playing music too, and I was playing a lot of hockey then too. But it was kind of just it wasn't a job that we took particularly serious, but it was clear right away that we were like way better at it than most of the people that had gone there. It's like there's a couple of types of people that move overseas, right? And I can't speak on anywhere overseas, but in China especially, there's like 3 different types of people, right? And you've got the first one is what we call like the 2 to 4 week people. Right?
Oh, you're talking about like how long you'll be there?
Yeah, well, and it's like a type of person too, but it's like 2 to 4 weeks, right? So people will move there and be like, holy shit, this is a lot at once. Because it's a very challenging place to live. And
just so many people and like.
Well, and there's no English.
Yeah.
Like there's no like we moved to Beijing, we didn't know any Chinese. And we figured, it's one of the biggest international countries in the world, like huge international hub, whatever. Of course, there'll be English.
We're using like Google Translate. Like how the fuck? I know there's a thing on Amazon.
It doesn't really
where
work like
you
that.
talk into it and it gives them their language back.
It doesn't really like work like that in Mandarin. Okay. It works like that in any kind of Latin-based language where you can kind of directly translate things because the sentence structure is the same.
Yeah.
In Chinese, it's not like that. It's
I've seen some shit where it's like it's the reverse, and so you read it and then you go from the back to. I'm like, what?
I don't even know exactly. I lived there for 2 years and I can't tell you the way the sentence structure works. But we moved there and we were like, oh yeah, no, it'll be fine. We'll figure out how to, get around. And then we got there and it was immediately like, oh shit. So like, how are we gonna find a apartment? Right? Like, how are we gonna get from point A to point B? Like, there is no English.
So they didn't set you up with anything. Like you showed up there and like, here's your apartment, here's your.
No, they didn't give us an apartment.
Transportation.
No, we showed up and they said, okay, here's your hotel for the first 2 weeks. Right? So they put us in a hotel for 2 weeks, and that was for our training process. And then after that, they were just like, good luck. And
That's wild.
so we, so we ended up moving into an apartment with 6 guys. We lived in a 3-bedroom apartment with 6 guys.
It's like, hold on.
And what was funny too is that the place that we initially moved into, and it was just 2 of us, right? So we moved in with 4 strangers, and they were in the same situation, kind of, right? Like they were
American,
all
American,
they were all American, and they, it was the same kind of situation. Like they kind of got thrown into it and didn't know what to do, and we were like, well, we got some money. I had $1,800 in my. I had $1,800 in my checking account, so I was like, "Oh fuck, I'm rich." Like you know what I mean? And except that then they were like, "Okay, yeah." So the way that this works in China is you pay your first month's rent and your last month's rent up front.
Yeah, we do that too.
and then you pay quarterly. So they wanted 5 months rent right now.
Holy shit.
And we didn't have 5 months rent.
I thought you were going to say it's back-ended, like, hey, no. 3 months to get
right
us.
now.
Oh.
So we go and tour this apartment, and it's a fucking massage place. It's on the 13th floor of an apartment building. You walk in, it was only 2 rooms at the time. They built another room in the apartment for us because of how many people we had moving in, and they furnished it for us, which is great. But we came in, and it was like there were people getting massages in there, and they're like, yeah, this is where you're gonna live, and we're like, what do you mean? And yeah, so they changed it up for us, and we moved in with some strangers, and 2 of them ended up being fucking psycho. We ended up having to shake one down in an ATM to get paid.
Jesus.
Oh yeah. We had to walk a guy to an ATM and shook him down to get our payment for it. It was rough.
You're like, yo, you just give him the Connor Roach. Hey,
yeah,
there's a real gun in here.
Pretty much, man. He was like we had to go to the place where he worked, and we were like, yo, you owe us this much money, and like we didn't have it, and it's hard to transfer money. Like it's really hard to transfer money from America to China. We didn't have it, and we were like, dude, we need our money, because he just moved out randomly and didn't tell us, like in the middle of the night, like took all his shit and left, and thought he wasn't going to pay us that quarter's rent, like 3 months of rent.
You,
and look up what the cost of living in Beijing is like, right? Like the daily expenses are nothing, but the living expenses are insane.
What would you say a month that place would cost? Just an estimate.
I'm trying to remember what we paid. I think we paid something like
$3,000 a month.
That's probably pretty close. I think it was maybe like $2,800.
Yeah, so you're looking at an Austin almost.
Sure.
But also, this is your room.
This is the apartment.
This is the apartment.
Yeah, no, the bathroom, dude. The bathroom had it was like the entire bathroom was tile, right? Floor to ceiling tile. There was no shower, right? It was just a sink, a shower head, and a toilet.
So you could whore baths, or
you could shit and shower at the same time. You could be sitting on the toilet with the shower.
That is wild.
Yeah, and so we did that, and the first year was tough, and then after about 6 months, we started making real money.
And is that because you started the music stuff, or just like
no? It was just because we were good at our jobs. Really, I mean, like
it wasn't like a salary job.
It started out as one, yeah, okay. And then you get more money depending on the more classes that you taught and all that. So we started doing more like all day classes.
Could you do side shit like say I'm private lessons?
Big time.
Like, okay.
Yeah. So I taught there's a family on the 7th floor of our building. The guy was he was a teacher at the Peking University there in Beijing, which we lived in. Wudalco was the name of the town, which is it's all inner city Beijing, but it was Wudalco, which is like there's a couple of big universities right there in that area, and he was a professor there. I believe chemistry, if I'm not mistaken. He was science for sure, but so I taught 2 of his kids, and so like that supplemented my income quite a bit, and then.
No, all your buddies have to do that too, or like you're like, hey, this is a
we didn't have to, but most of us did. Yeah. We just because it was.
That's your fuck around money, right? Like you're like, hey, we can go out this weekend because I made $500 here.
Yeah, it was all cash, and so we all started kind of doing the private lesson thing, and that was cool. And then we started doing like we played in a band in college, and the guy that I moved over there with was a drummer. I played guitar and sang, and so we started doing like open mics like pretty much immediately when we moved there. We started doing like open mics.
Is that the same thing as comedy? Like, hey, you got 5.
Yeah. Typically they give us like 10 minutes or whatever. We go up there and play a couple songs, and probably like the second or third time that we were doing it, the owner of the bar came over and he spoke okay English, and he was just like, hey, he was like, can you guys do this for can you do this 2 45-minute sets? We were like, yeah, hell yeah, lying, and so we had to figure out how to play that much music, and so we started doing that. And
that seems so long.
Oh yeah,
like
2 45-minute sets.
What's a song, like 3 minutes max? Like
yeah, you can jam it out and get 5 out of a song. And we started doing that, but initially it was just like him on a djembe or him on a cocktail kit, and then me on an acoustic guitar singing. And so pulled some deep cut songs out of the arsenal, some stuff that I jammed out in college and all that, and then
did they recognize those songs?
Hell
like,
no.
You're like Sweet Home Alabama. Yeah. Like what the fuck, Sweet Home? Hell yeah, dude. Like,
no, but the unique part, and it's not that we were like super good at music. It was that we were like these big tall white dudes
Yeah,
singing in English.
Oh, there's basketball players.
Yeah, so they would have like all the windows open at the bar, and people would just pile in, right? And like people would just come and watch us.
I always wondered about that, like with the bars on 6th Street, right? Like I'd walk by and I'd see a live, and like I kind of want to go in there. Like it's like a weird,
just
like
that.
a draw. Like you're just like, so I like, and then some places like they want to keep it like the Domain, right? They have like these private clubs where you have to stand in line. Oh, you're too ugly. You're out of here. Not enough girls. Hey, the fucking ratio is bad in here. Like, you know, like what the fuck, man?
Yeah,
But, like,
none of that out there.
Okay.
And then we started doing that, and that was like, you know, get paid a little bit here and there, but most of the time, like especially like when we first started, it would be like they'd be like, we can pay you, you know, they'd be like 1,000 kwai, right? So that would be like,
I was gonna ask, is it yen?
yeah, so yeah, kwai would be like say like bucks, right? So they'd be like, oh yeah, 1,000 kwai would pay you for 2 45-minute sets. You'd be like, all right, cool, and they'd be like, or or we can just give you a drink tab. And we were like, we'll take the drinks.
We're gonna run the table.
Yeah, we'll just take the
that.
drinks.
Fuck it.
Well, because then what would happen was we would just order trays and trays of shots, and when people would come up and were jamming, like where they were liking our music, we'd be like, yo, take a shot, take a shot, take a shot.
I was gonna ask, like, are you drinking beer as you play, or shot? Because I feel like
Most of the time
shots, you're
beers.
fucking done.
Yeah, most of the time beers.
Like you're just up there by yourself now. You're like, where'd my band go? Like
Right.
no one's there. You're like, what the fuck?
So we started doing the, you know, that we started out like that, and then one time we were playing at this bar. It was the English translation was Temple Bar, which is it was a music venue. Like it wasn't just a bar; it was like a proper music venue.
Stage and everything.
Yeah. So we went in and we were gonna open for these two dudes. There's two dudes from Africa. Names were Kamau and Duder.
And what kind of music did they play?
Kamau was a big blues dude, and Duder was his drummer. So Kamau and I think he played like all kinds of different instruments. He would play like bass, and he would play like he'd be on the harmonica and like whatever else. And they go up there and play the blues and stuff. And they were kind of more established, and they kind of took a liking to us. And so we started opening for them. But that night at Temple Bar, I stepped outside to smoke a cigarette, and this German dude, he's probably in his early 40s at the time. He comes up and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "Can I borrow a lighter?" I was like, "Oh yeah, no problem." And I give him a lighter, and he's like, "Man, I really like y'all's sound." He's like, "You guys," he's like, "Just a 2-piece, huh?" And I was just like, "Yeah, I mean, we just moved here, whatever." And he's like, "Well, I play bass." He's like, "You need a bassist?"
Oh, shit.
We're like, "Oh, fuck yeah." So his name's Kai, and he's an awesome dude. He ended up playing with us the rest of the time that we were there. He came to Austin and visited this summer.
Fuck yeah.
But he was an astrophysicist.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
So he studied, because Beijing is all surrounded by mountains. And so he would study. I think he was. I don't know what he was studying, but he was. I think maybe black holes or something. And he was writing. He was like writing a big paper on this stuff, and he was out there studying. And so he ended up playing with us, and then Max ended up moving there too, another friend from college, and he ended up moving up there with us. And so he started going to our rehearsals and shaking the maracas, the tambourines, doing like percussion stuff, just kind of dicking around. He would help us log around our gear and stuff.
Love that word, percussion.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just a good word.
It's just whatever. It's very vague. And so he started doing that, and then we got tight. Like he was really jamming with us, and then so we were a 4-piece, and we started doing that. And there was a while where we were playing like 4 or 5 nights a week, and we were making more money playing music than we were, you know.
That's why I thought like maybe that second year you just did music, or so you're like, fuck this, I'm just gonna jam for a year. So
No,
I was
I mean-
like, oh.
I feel like we could have, but the steadiness of having a job kind of kept us grounded.
Yeah. Well, you need that income too, right? That this is my rent, this is my food, and then you can do your side projects to fucking suffice whatever lifestyle you want.
Right. And we definitely had a lifestyle. I mean, that's like, like I said, it got to a point where when we were there, we were so broke. We were looking at, me and Christian we would pool our money together and be like, okay, cool. So we can do 2 meals, a train ride to and from work, and 2 liters of beer each per day.
2 liters of beer?
Yeah, because
Isn't
they
that
sold
like
them by the liter.
2 beers?
Well, they sold them by the liter. They were these big. They're
like
big
a 40?
big Yanjings. They're not 40. I don't know. I can't remember what the measurements were on them, but they were like these recycled bottles, and you just buy beer by the bottle. these huge
Oh,
bottles.
so you just bring the same bottle in and refill it like the water, like my water jugs, or
Kinda. What they would do is so a liter of beer was 6 kwai, so that's about 85 cents at the time, U.S.
Jesus.
for a liter of beer. And so we go and buy them, and then we would fill a hockey bag with them. And once the hockey bag got full, we would drag the hockey bag down to the shit shop where we buy the beer, and they would give us 3.5 kwai on the bottle. And they would pay you out cash if you wanted, but we would just buy them. We just take beer instead. So, but we were so broke, man. We would just, we pulled our money and did that for the first couple of months, and then all of a sudden it was like you check your bank account, and you'd be like, oh fuck, like I had way more money than I need. And then we started really traveling and dicking around, and it came to a point where there was like money was like no object over there for a while.
Well, I gotta take a piss, but you should try to call Max or whoever you need to like get on the line.
Yeah, I'll
here,
call.
and let's get a couple stories out of him. Those are great guys, by the way. They're fucking dope dudes. Maybe I met them when I was blacked out in college, but I was like, these guys are awesome, dude.
Your call has been forwarded to voicemail. The person you're
This podcast is brought to you by Atomic Red Line Rhino Smelling Salts.
Who we got on the line? We got Maxie.
Nah, he didn't answer.
Didn't answer?
You want to hit the salts?
Woo! Fucking awake.
But yeah, no, the China stuff was crazy, man. I think that the craziest time that we had was really because we had our visas were set up. We had to leave every 60 days. So we had to leave the country. So at first, when we were really broke, we would take a train. It's like an 18-hour train ride. We'd jump on a train and we'd ride down from Beijing, and we'd cruise all the way down to Shenzhen, which is right on the border of Hong Kong. Mm-hmm. So you'd cruise down to Shenzhen, jump off a train, and you'd walk to Hong Kong. Real short walk, and we would just walk across, go through customs, get our passport stamped, turn around, and get back on the same train and take another 18-hour train ride back to Beijing.
18 hours.
Yeah. And that was when we were really broke.
Holy shit.
And then after like I think that was really we only had to do that once that where we were real broke like that. And then after that we started going to like Korea, or we go down to Macau and go gamble in Macau, which is like the Las Vegas. It's like the Las Vegas of Asia.
That's a capital of the world for fucking gambling.
Yeah, we go down there. We go to Hong Kong, Thailand, Cambodia, Malaysia, like wherever. We just and it was totally cool with the company that we worked for. We'd just be like, like we need 3 weeks off, and we would just take 3 weeks and we just go backpack and dick around.
One of the craziest things, like my dad brought his girlfriend down here. She works for Canada Post, and she says she has 12 weeks paid leave a year.
Oh, it's just America. It's only America where you get accustomed to 5-day vacations, right? Like, and taking 5 days off work in America feels like you're taking your entire job just off. Like you're just like, fuck my job, right? Like overseas, and it's not just China, right? Like it's not just like it's everywhere, man. It's people take like a month, or they'll take like 6 weeks, or like whatever. They'll take like serious time off, and that's like I feel like that's the way that vacations should be taken.
When they talk about like mental health and shit here in the U.S., like the fuck are you guys doing to help with that? Like,
Yeah.
You're making us work 40 hours a week. I'm not saying that's a lot.
It's not about mental
like,
health.
Come on, like you can't tell me that fucking last year they're like, hey, you guys now get 10 days off a year, hooray! No one clapped, no one did shit. We're like, that should fucking be the standard. What are you talking about?
10 days is egregious.
Like, and like even that 10 days, like say I go to Destin with my family. I get back and it's like, fuck, man, well, what time did I really save? Or like, I look at my emails and my calls and I'm like, fuck, like now I have to do double the work to make up for the time missed. Like,
drinking from a fire hose when you get back.
Holy shit, man! Like it just how the fuck did this happen? Why is the mason that put the wrong stone with the wrong mortar on the house? Like what the fuck, man? Like
It's tough.
it's wild to me. And then I talked to like my cousin in Canada. He's like, dude, we like a basic here is 8 weeks is what you get off a year. Like that's like from the company, and you can't take it all at one time and whatever. But
Sure.
what a fucking life! Like
Yeah.
there should be a life, you know, and
Quality of
career, like balance. And
Sure.
there's no balance here. It's just every day I'm like, fuck. Like, you know, yesterday, we go coach a game, we lose. That sucks. Whatever. You know, we almost came back. We were inches away. And then Ravens lose. I'm like, what the fuck? And then we go play men's league. We lose. It's just like I'm going 1-on-1 with Porky. Like, fuck you, bitch. Like, that 2-on-1 or 2-on-2 that they had, the guy beat whoever the other D was on the left side, and then he had Porky, and I'm like kind of just staying with him. I'm like, I'm not gonna overcommit to this. I just want to see what he's gonna do. And then there's a quick stick lift at the end to miss his fucking 2-on-1 opportunity. It's like. That's why I'm the fucking D coach, baby. And like he's like, fuck yeah.
I heard that.
Dude.
That was
like,
awesome.
I don't know how to prove my worth otherwise, right? You
Right.
can't go out there with the kids or do anything. Like that parent skate with us, like with the kids and the parents. Like that's what I love to do. Is like, yo, you think I'm just some fucking Joe Schmo out here telling you what to do? Nah, bitch.
I promise I can do it too.
Yeah, it's like, come on. But yeah, I don't know. I love that shit. And like, you know, all the bullshit we talked about before, like, oh, fucking parents suck, all that shit. Those little moments will always stick in my memory as like, fuck, that was fucking awesome. Like, that's what we do this for, is to have these little moments. Even, you know, you tell somebody the story and they're like, yeah, that's cool. But you're like, no, to me, that I hold on to that fucking core memory of that. Like,
100%.
at the HEB Center, too. Like, just, it's so cool just being there last night. It's... whatever, we got fucking 6 girlfriends in the crowd and some parents or whatever the fuck there is.
We got 8 people in a fucking stadium that seats 5,000.
How crazy is that? That Kill Tony did 2 podcasts there on New Year's night.
Sold both of them out, yeah.
It's like, I think the bigger it gets, like when I went and saw Kill Tony's 10-year anniversary, like 3,000 people at the Paramount Theater or something. Like, I was like, it's too much. Like, this needs to be back at Joe's Club, the mothership.
Sure.
And like, it needs to be an intimate thing because once you, like, the reverb of the crowd laughing and the timing changes everything. So like,
big time.
now you tell a joke, well, I gotta give it 5 seconds to hit. And so it's like, but if you're in a club, it's 1 second. So it's, and I'm not a stand-up. I just like the whole... I like learning about this shit and like what it takes. So, you know, when me and Duds are bouncing jokes off of each other, why the fuck am I doing that? I'm not a stand-up comedian. But I'm like, hey, look at all these jokes I have in my fucking notes app, dude. Like,
right.
And he's like, can I take that one? I'm like, yeah, dude, just give me credit at the end. Like, oh, my buddy Kyle is the one that fucking gave me that idea or whatever. But that's how I feel like I'm touching that community, is like going to stuff like... And I don't know if you've ever been to a live comedy. You went and saw Sawyer?
I go to some. I'm not a big comedy guy. But, which I get a bunch of fucking heat for. But they're like, well, you don't like fucking laughing? I'm like, dude, all right, it's fine. I don't want to feel like I'm obligated to fucking go to a place and laugh. But
did you see Sawyer at Cap City?
No, I was camping that last time. But I've seen him there several times. Sawyer Stoll is one of my very, very good friends. Played music together in college, and he's made quite the mark, and he's doing good things in the comedy world, and now he's got a full he does once I think it's 5 days a week on ESPN now.
What?
Oh yeah, he's on the ESPN radio.
For what? Just
talk sports.
No, this is it. Just
he talks sports. You can call in and talk with him. He's a huge Texas Stars guy. He's just a good sports mind, funny guy. He absolutely fucking kills it. And that's just like, for me, I'm like, you know, he understands I'm not a big comedy guy, but whenever he has a big show, right, he's just like, oh, like, when he does, like, Funniest Comic in Austin, 2nd place a couple years ago.
Yeah,
huge.
I kept watching that. I was like, fuck, how did you not win? But I don't know his comedy. I don't know what he tells. Like, I was asking you, is he a storyteller? Is he a one-liner? Like, what?
I don't know the difference. Yeah. It's not a whole lot of storytelling. He does.
Does he do topical? Like, y'all see what happened in the news yesterday?
He does some of that. He's got some established jokes that he's kind of stuck with over time. And, like, I remember going and watching him whenever he first started doing stand-up. And I remember when I first met him, right? Because he came out, the way I met him was through hockey. Yeah, he came out, tried out for Texas State, tore his MCL at tryouts. And I drove his car home.
Play with us.
Right? So he tore his MCL and I believe his right leg, so I had to drive his car home at tryouts. And and that was kind of how I met him. And then he hung him up. He stopped playing hockey after that. But me and him kept being friends. And he told me, he was like, man, I don't know what I want to do, but I feel like I'm born to entertain people. Right? So he picked up the guitar, and me and him played music together in college, and then he started doing the comedy thing. I moved away and all that, and then he really picked that stuff up. And now it's one of those things where it's like, he'll be like, hey, this is an important show for me or whatever. He knows that I'm not a big comedy guy, but like I'll always go and support.
Will he comp you tickets, or you gotta get your own?
He usually comps me tickets. But it's not. But it's one of those things where if he didn't comp me tickets, I'd go pay the $10 or $15 or whatever. And then of course the comedy venues are always like, they're like, oh yeah, tickets are only $12, but two drink minimum, and the fucking beers are $8. You're like, all right.
I hadn't drank for 3 months, and we went and saw the black principal from Abbott Elementary, like a school teacher show. So my girlfriend's school teacher. She's like, let's go to this. I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, $25. And then we get there, like, no, 3 drink minimum. And I hadn't drank for 3 months. And I'm like, let me get a mojito. Like, just like, I was like, fuck, dude, we're going back down this fucking train. Like, god damn it. But, whatever. Like, and I was so disappointed. She goes up there and she's just like, I'm famous, y'all. And we're like, what? Like, okay. And
not
she's
really.
Like, yeah, she's like, yeah, I just re-signed our contract for 3 years. We're the biggest fucking show. It's like, it's the producers of The Office, like, all kind of like.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, so it's shot that way where the camera's kind of like cool. Moving and like, it's like, trying to be like bad. And then they look at the camera and break the third wall. And like, this kid's retarded. It's like, what the fuck? Like, just such weird shit. But I thought she was gonna just kill it. But her like starter was like Stull, kind of like an opening act, killed it. And then like I'm pumped up for maybe it's that dopamine. Like dopamine's mostly like anticipation. So you're like, all right, I'm playing a hockey game and we're gonna win this. Fuck yeah! And then you get that dopamine release at the end. So I'm like, oh fuck, this is gonna be awesome. Like this is gonna, it's building. And then she comes over and says, I'm rich. I'm like, oh. I don't want that. Like, what the fuck? And, like, it was an hour set. She was kind of trash.
An hour?
Yeah.
Bro, that's crazy, man. Because, again, going back to the music thing, it's, like, 2 45-minute sets. Like, at first I remember it being, like, this is ridiculous. But even whenever we were really tight, it was still, like, man, like, that's still a lot of time. And I was on, like, you're on stage with, like, other people, right? Like, you can banter. And then it's just like, oh, I have time to kill. Like, we can riff a little. Like, we can jam. Dude, if you're up on stage by yourself with a fucking microphone, you're on an island. Like, an hour is so long to stand there and talk.
And that's what I hate about if I see live music that's, they have a script of, hey, we're going to play these 10 songs or whatever at this bar. And then the biggest one to me is Ghostwriter Brewery in Dripping Springs off Ranch Road 12. So we go there with Allie's family, and like between songs, they would like self-deprecate and be like, we're gonna play this next song. We've only played it twice, but I hope you like it. It's like almost like a little shitty comedy set, and I'm like, shut the fuck up and play.
Like, play the music.
Like, why are you telling me this? Like, hey,
we would do that shit in China, and nobody in the crowd spoke English. I'd be up there talking. We play "Hey Joe" by Jimi Hendrix, and I'd be like, hey, so this song's about a guy that killed his wife. I did not kill my wife. My name is also Joe. Everybody in the crowd's like...
That's like, especially because it's at a brewery. Like, no one cares. Just fucking play the music. Like,
fucking play the music. Yeah.
Shut up and dribble.
Yeah, looking back, that's probably exactly how everybody in the fucking crowd felt that didn't speak English.
That's so wild. Like, I love, like... tribal kind of music that are thrown in the house, like, I don't know what the fucking words are, but I'm fucking jamming to it. I'm dancing, but, like, I don't know if that's, like, an instinctual thing, like, back to, like, the roots of, like, music, right? Like, how they started, like, with, like, they had to do with their voices, they didn't have instruments, or they're hitting a rock, or, whatever. So, yeah, that's, like, it just, I don't know what it is, it just sparks me, and I just start dancing or going at it, like, getting after it, and, yeah, I don't know, I imagine that's maybe what they like. They're like, I don't know what the fuck he's saying, but fuck yeah, this is a groove or like this is a vibe. Like,
well, I mean, you could definitely tell. Like, we started having people too that would like come to like all of our shows. Like
same people.
Yeah, we'd have the same people.
I got freaked out with that with Embers. So I've seen him 3 times this year. I'm seeing him in 2 weeks again at Summit, and I walk up to him like he's like, hey, if anyone wants to say what's up, I'm gonna have a beer over here. Once I'm done with the beer, I'm out. So like get in line or like whatever, just like. Give me your 2 cents or like whatever, give me your shit. I walk up and he's from Scotland. He's like, yo, the hockey guy. I'm like, no.
You're like, you know me.
So I repost all of his shit, like
yeah.
even just like candid photos from like his like DJ producer, like of him in the lab, and I just fucking repost it. And he's like, "You're the hockey guy, right?" I'm like,
Yeah.
dude,
Supporting your boys. That's
my
great.
heart. But then I was like, is this fucking getting stalkerish? Like, and the sets were all very similar. Maybe he changes the order of the songs, but like, he's one guy that I want on this podcast so bad, dude. Like, I messaged him. Only once, but he's like, yeah. Like,
Only once.
Yeah, like, I wanted to keep going. Every day I look at him, I'm like, fuck, she'd probably chime in again. But I'm like, hey man, like if you get time, like I know you're a busy dude, you're doing a tour, like once that's over, if you get 30 minutes, that's all I want. Like I just want to talk, and I'm sure I'd get numbies on the views and shit just because it's his first podcast, he's never done one.
Oh really?
And so like he sings on the tracks, it's all auto-tuned and whatnot, but like for him, like his last song in his album that just came out was his grandfather calling him during COVID and left him a voice note or voice app or whatever. So he's like, hey, you know, like things are getting crazy here, but it kind of feels like things are getting better now. And then he makes that into a song. Like that lyric is put into that with a beat. And I'm like, how do you do this? Like how, like what do you, and I have clips of like shows that I watch where it's like a, Fred again did it once with this other DJ, I forget what her name is, Queen something. Older woman, probably in her 55s, and she's like, we lost dancing. Like she's doing just a podcast with them, and she's like, we lost time with friends, the vibe, like all because when COVID hit, like you can't go out and dance with your friends or like get a vibe. And so he takes her audio from that podcast and turns it into a hit song. And I'm like, that's fucking brilliant. Like you don't have to pay someone
artist,
to
man.
do a fucking And I'm just like. So I have one about like vulnerability or like whatever for some chick from a show, and I just like clip that. And I'm like, I'm gonna take this audio, I'm gonna put this in this. And I don't know why I don't want to be a DJ. Like I don't. That would be cool to go up there and like 50 people are there at the beginning, and I play 20 songs and get the fuck out of there. But I also am just like you're like, why are you doing so many side quests? Like we're in the drive to Dallas. Like why are you doing all
Big
this?
side quest guy.
Yeah, like I
mean, but at the end of the day, it's not. You don't have to like aspire to be a DJ, but if like you want to make art, like you want to make music, then fucking make music, man. Like
I think that's
totally
just that
cool.
creative. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I think I lost that in the drinking, where it's like, yeah, I was creative. I didn't record anything. I didn't put it down. I didn't write it or anything. So it's like it freaked me out for a bit because I'm like, oh, dude, we got away from the fucking the actual person that you are, and then I'm like, okay, well, I want to do a podcast. I want to talk to my friends. It's Talks with Friends. I don't know how that wasn't taken as a name. I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
it wasn't taken?
Yeah, so like you can put in Talks with Friends on YouTube. You can't find me. It's more of a ESL, like second language like stuff, and it's like talking English with a person from China. And it's like those are the videos that come up. So I'm like, okay, well, cool. Once I get an actual audience, like maybe I can, I'll be on the top of the list for that Talks with Friends.
You can't find it. Like if we like I guess if a question for anybody that's maybe watching is like, how do we find this?
Yeah. So that like
other than just being sent links from your friends, how if we were just like hanging out and you met somebody and you're like, yeah, like I do a podcast and like sometimes like we have it's called Talks with Friends. Like how does somebody go about finding this?
Yeah. So that was the problem when Crow was like, oh, pull it up on your phone. And I'm like, yeah. So I just put Talks with Friends on YouTube and like. What they want you to do is pay for advertising and marketing. So like that will be that's a road I have to maybe go down at some point. But if I want to be top of the list kind of guy, I gotta pay them $20.
But if somebody was to Google Talks with Friends Kyle Hughes, would it come up?
Yeah, so that's another thing that I'm running through. It's almost the same.
You gotta figure that shit out.
Yeah,
man.
So like it's only been a week, right? It's like I did my first one last week, so. I'm figuring it out. Like I'm like Googling how do you make a thumbnail for the fucking video. Then I start copy and pasting and doing shit. Like, so it's all a learning curve, right? I'm green as fuck at this. Like it's just like instruction. I don't know what the fuck I was doing at first. Now I got the grip, but it takes a while. So it's like 5 years to like for me to figure that out. But I hope this is a month and I know everything. I can do all of it, and that's why I also got Ryan Fritchie to be my fucking producer because I'm like I don't want to do this. I want to go to work. I want to coach the kids. And then I'll do a podcast once a week, and you take care of all the back end stuff. Like that's you owe me money, so fucking take care of this. So that's
I feel like that's fair.
Yeah, and then like that's why I think it always takes a team. Or like my sister just had a kid, Asher. She's like it takes a village to raise a kid. It's not just gonna be me. Like so, my little sister Avery lives there with them. She gets all her groceries paid for, whatever, but then also where's your sense of freedom? So she's like, hey, I kind of want to move out, but like this is a sick deal. I'm the babysitter. So like she can, so like that's the same thing I think with a podcast. Like that's why I want you to make the intro song, and like my buddy's like, oh, I'll throw vocals on. I'm like, I don't think we're gonna need vocals for this, like or what. Yeah. So I think everybody, I like to when you look at this wall and the shit that's there, like this is all part of my life. Like Goofy's from an ex-girlfriend Megan Jones. Like Blue is from Disney World when I was with my aunt. Like all of this has some
sort of significance.
Yeah,
for sure.
Like it's not just fucking I put things on a wall. But yeah, I don't know.
No, I feel like you're heading in the right direction. I think that the biggest thing right now is just accessibility, right? It's just like you let people know what's happening, and like right now, like I'm sure that the audience is going to be people that we know directly and stuff like that, and it's like. But it's like if you meet somebody and they're like, "What are you into?" And you're like, "Well, like like I like playing hockey. Like I like going to shows. I also make a podcast." It's like, "Oh, cool. Like, can I listen to it?" It's like, well, yeah. Like you gotta find a way to make that accessible to people.
So with my cousin Chase, he's like, "Hey, I'm going on a 2-hour run, like fucking Porky, like training for a marathon."
It's nuts.
And so he's like, "I'm doing 10 miles because we're at hills and snowing here, whatever." And he's like, but you can't like listen to YouTube unless it like the screen's on or whatever. I'm like, well, just go to YouTube, click download, it makes it an MP4, MP3, and then you listen to it. But like that's
kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah, just like when you listen to Shark Tank, they're like, so how do we? And they're like, oh, there's like 7 steps to do the thing that you have.
Fuck that.
No, we're not doing it. So that's why I need to get on Spotify.
Yeah, I was about to say
Apple.
that's the process. Figure out the process to get on Spotify, and then that's like.
So like,
I'll listen. I mean, I'm gonna listen anyway, but
what you have to do is you have to like get an iCloud kind of thing, and so it's like $10 a month to like have your podcast on some kind of cloud, and then
I got 5 on it.
Yeah, so like that's that's where it's like, okay, that's not crazy. Like just don't get another case of beer this week or like whatever, like just to suffice that payment. But yeah, that's like the other. That's why I want Fritz. You're like, hey, I'm gonna leave an account here with $500. You have access to it. If you need to buy an RSS feed and like you need to do all this shit, or you think my mics suck and I need to upgrade, or my camera's garbage,
you're gonna give the guy $500 that owes you a bunch of money.
It's a very bad. It's not the greatest technique, but I'm like, or maybe he needs to request it, right? Like maybe I'm like, hey,
maybe approve the invoice.
Send me a receipt and I'll maybe pay us back.
That's fucking funny,
Connor. ETA 7 to 8, an hour gap of.
To be fair, 7 to 8, it's only 20 minutes from now.
But I'm gonna think he's gonna get here by 8:15.
Does he not share your location? I share my location with everybody. I'm never going missing.
Dude, you taught me so much this year. Like, and like these are small things, but like I said, I keep receipts. But no, what, you fucking faggot. But like I just should have said that word. But like,
podcast is canceled.
Yeah. All my sponsors, sorry. But like with you, like I think like one of the first times after one of our trips, you're like, all right, love you, brother. And like, dude, I don't think I've had another male figure say that to me. And then you came in for a hug, and I'm like, oh fuck! Like I was like, this is so confusing. Like I was like, shit, I don't.
Dude, you gotta love your friends, man.
But that's the thing, like I do, but like I've just never had that interaction.
Gotta be transparent, homie.
I know, and that's
I'm huge on that, man.
That's something I'm working on, and like just all like you said like live nerds one time, like so, like someone wasn't drinking at a bar or something. Like, come on, man, live nerds. I got a fucking sign of that. Let's now. Go. Like, that freaked me out. And then now I'll say it to my best friend, if you will, at Sarab, you fucker. Like I'll say like love you, man. He's like, all right, and just like hangs up the phone. I'm like, oh, so like maybe Joe felt like that when he did that to me, because I remember there's multiple phone calls. All right, love you, brother, and then I'm like,
yeah, it doesn't hurt my feelings. You just got to tell the folks that you love them, man.
Yeah, like,
you never know what someone's going through, man. You never know how much that might mean to somebody. It's just like, I don't know. You got to tell the people that you love them.
When it sparked me, I'm like, oh shit, he feels like this is like maybe our second week or something going up to Dallas. I'm like, oh, we just kind of came back together. Like, dude, he picked you up or told you to come to his fucking location and then put you in a fucking Jeep and drove you to a pond and you shot guns into it. Like, that's like, what are you talking about? You don't know this guy? Like, come on, man. So,
no, there's a degree of toxic masculinity where you're like you can't tell another man that you love him. Like you got to be this like stoic. It's like, again, like these are conversations that I've had with kids that we coach, right? Where you're just like, like yeah, like you want to be like right. We play a fucking contact sport where you're going to fucking war, right? There's a degree of like, well, I gotta be this stoic, like tough individual, and it's like you can do both, right? Like you can go to war and you can be violent on the ice, like you can be like tough and like stern and like all this, but at the same time, like you can also be transparent about being like, dude, like I fucking care about you, like I care about your development, right? As a kid, right? Like you be like I love these kids, and I won't tell these kids that I love them because that's a fucking weird thing to say, but it's like
Safe sport.
Yeah, safe sport. But like, dude, I love these kids, man. Like, and I see myself in every single kid that we coach, right? Like anybody that I have an impact on, like I have love for them. And it's like whenever you get older, and it's just like you've got your friends, and you're just like, again, like you don't know what people are going through. You don't know what people have been through. You don't know what people have fucking told them that they love them. It's like, you hug your fucking boys, right? Hug your fucking boys. Tell them that you love them. Like let them fucking know. Like there should be no guessing. Like I don't know. And maybe I'm just weird, but I think that's an important thing to like, be transparent about your relationships.
Well, that's what I feel like. It's like you said, toxic masculinity or whatever. Like that's how I feel with my dad, right?
Yeah.
Fighter in the NHL.
Which I see that, yeah.
Like what the fuck? And you see when the wires cross me, I turn into a fucking different person, and it's a problem. Like,
well, it's a problem now, right? But there's probably a time where that was a productive, like reasonable way to behave for the direction that you were trying to go, right? And the sport that we play, right, it's a lot like football, right? Like in football is like the coaches are, and I don't know how much football you really played, but like coaches are fucking assholes, and it's a lot of like being very hard, and like you got to be this like hardened individual, and like you have to like carry yourself in a certain way, and it's good in some walks, right? And it can be productive in certain ways, but it's not necessarily a way that you want to live your entire life either, right? Like
I was just a mad kid. Like,
yeah.
What was I mad about? Like, I had a great life. I lived in Round Rock, Texas, one of the safest cities in the world. Like, you're playing hockey, you have friends, like girlfriends. Like, what the fuck was I mad about? But I think I'm just mad that I never impressed him.
Sure.
Like, it's a sad statement to say, but it's like I didn't.
It can be true.
I didn't make it to that echelon. It's like, fuck, my disappointment. Like, I talked to my aunt a few weeks ago, and it's like, how was it for you guys when I didn't make it? She's like, nobody cared.
Nobody gives a shit.
It's like
you did your best.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole nother fucking can of worms too. It's just like your best is it's very subjective depending on who you talk to or what you like, right? Like, and your best especially is like the most subjective to you, right? It's like, well, I didn't end up where I necessarily thought I would, and nobody fucking does. So it's just like you do your best. You fucking be transparent in your relationships and be friendly and like let people know that you care about them, and you just. I mean, nobody's gonna like nobody fucking is 8 years old and is like, I'm gonna draw out what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life, who I'm gonna be when I'm fucking 35 years old.
I did. Like, it's
right?
like I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna play pro,
which is
work
good,
my way up,
right? Which is like it's good to like try and draw a map, right? And there's actually a really good quote on the wall, outside of D1. First time this whole season I went up to D1, right? Because I usually send you or Porky. Yeah. I went up there. There's a quote on the wall. I think it's a Jerry Rice quote, and it's like, and it's just like, draw a map of where you want to be, right? Or it's hold on, or fuck, I can't remember exactly how it goes, but it's basically along the lines of, make a plan for yourself, make a strict plan for yourself, and hold it loosely, is kind of the way that it's kind of portrayed, right? And it's you set this outline and you set these expectations for yourself. You fucking work your bag off to get there, right? And you have to realize at the same time that it's not going to go to plan, right? And you do everything in your fucking everything that you can control, right? You do it in your control to get to where you want to be, and it's not always going to go boom, 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 boom all the way, right? You might get there, you might not. But along the way, like those goals that you've set and the things that you do are going to make you better in the ways that you want to get better, regardless of if the end result is the same, right? So it's like your goals of being like, I'm going to be a fucking professional hockey player, right, has gotten you through college, right, playing juniors, right, ending up sitting here with somebody that did none of those things, right, and like you've made good friends, you're an athletic individual. Like these are all things like you have results from the things that you've aspired to, but the end result isn't necessarily I played for the fucking Boston Bruins, right? So there's even though it's not like I said, even though it's not exactly the end result, the goals that you've set and holding on to that dream has put you in that trajectory, right? Instead of realizing at 15 that I'm not going to the show. I'm gonna hang them up. I'm gonna fucking be a booze hound. And
Can't imagine the addictions I would have.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like instead you're like you've already set yourself on that trajectory. Whether you ended up where you wanted to be, right? The trajectory is still the same.
That's like kind of like when you were saying the quote. I'm like, the oldest one and simplest one is shoot for the stars and hopefully you land on a cloud.
Sure.
Like I'm on a cloud right now.
Yeah,
like
100%.
This is fucking phenomenal. I have friends.
Higher than most.
I have everything that I want. Like a couple things are missing, but like that. And like I don't know. Someone asked me if I'm happy the other day. I think it was Dom in the parking lot. Are you happy?
That sounds like a dumb question.
Yeah, like what the fuck? Like we're drinking beer in a parking lot with my friends. Like this is.
You're like,
I'm
yes.
very happy. And then like he's like, well, like in every aspect. I'm like, not every, right? Like I still like I do that 7-day fast. I loved having abs for a couple minutes, but it's like that's kind of almost unattainable, or you have to work towards it. And I'm like, I'm happy happiest I've been in 10 years.
Could you be happier? Sure.
Yeah. Or could you be sadder? Yes. Like I could definitely have a lot less of this, but yeah, I guess I feel like life always finds a homeostasis, right? It's like
Good word.
You bag the booze, and the next day you take a bunch of supplements, and all of a sudden, hey,
Sure.
I'm fucking right back to what I think is homeostasis. But that's what I kind of struggle with. I think taking on 2 men's league teams, coaching, work, personal life, whatever you want to add on top of that, like it's a lot. Like I'm burning it at both ends, and like that's the hard part for me for just deciding on what team, and it will be yours. I will not leave unless you don't need me anymore. Like I'll just go play double A. It's no big deal. But I love the camaraderie with it. I don't give a fuck if we win or lose, dude. Like even Huber was like, man, like that was kind of crazy what you did tonight with the fucking like going after a guy in the corner. I'm like, yeah, dude, like. I don't know, like, there's the wires crossed and whatever. He's like, dude, like, you've been, like, dangled on a breakaway, and, like, the guy comes down and scores on me, and you're like, hey, man, we'll get it back for you.
Yeah.
So that's my normal, but,
It's compete level.
Yeah, and so, I don't know, it's just too much, though, and, like, I like the double A because it's more competitive, and, like, my team's a fucking wagon. Like, we just beat everybody. Like, Nails texted me after he beat us the other night, like, by 1 or 2 goals, like, fucking needed that. I don't even care. Like I'm hitting a pen and a fucking beer in the locker. I don't give a shit about that. Like who cares? But like that means something to him, and like, but like our team, I just love being with the boys, and like when we go out, to, like I feel like the game starts when we go to the parking lot.
Yeah, it's the only reason I started the team.
And then that was what I was gonna ask you, like. Did you inherit this from another guy, or
No.
you started this yourself?
Dude, so I was playing in the Double A league at Crossover when I first moved here, and they had not built the bar I guess they had built the bar and they hadn't opened it, so they were like super strict, like can't bring beer into the locker room.
Oh, fuck.
And then they were just like can't drink beer in the parking lot on the property. So me and Miles were literally driving across the street where that Firefly is.
Yeah.
We would park in that parking lot and drink beer by ourselves.
Just go in that big.
Yeah.
Cylinder.
And then like we go play, and then after the game, everybody would just fucking leave. And I was like, man, well, like I just moved to Austin. I was like, man, I'm trying to make friends, and I was like, this is great. Like the hockey's great, but I was like, I'm not really making like friends that like we're not hanging out. Like we're just playing hockey and leaving.
That's what I don't like
So-
about the double A. I leave and I'm like kind of sad.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So Noah was
one
the
beer and a couple of hits and I left.
right.
What?
And Noah Maddox was the, I don't know if he was the commissioner. No, he was the commissioner of the A League at Chap, and he was playing Double A. And I was like having a beer with him one day, and I kind of expressed my gripe, and he was just like, man, he was like, we actually are adding, we're actually adding a team. I don't know if it was one team or what, but he was just like, he was just like, we need another captain, and I was just like, oh, like that's fine. Like I just want to play hockey with my friends, and I had, I had Miles, I had Evan, I had Saba. I had some I had S on at the time. I had like some old Texas State guys.
To get him for
Oh yeah.
Dude, he's fucking...
And so I was like, I was just like, okay, cool. Like I'll start a team. And so I started a team, and I was doing both. And then I started coaching with Miles, and I was like, okay, well I can't do both. And I was the captain of that one, so I jumped out of the double A, but I still subbed in it. And then so I started our team there, and it was fucking awful. The first season, I just like, because like, dude, so many of the captains are so involved, right?
Oh,
like they have a draft, they have like this pre-player, they have like this pre-season skate.
That's why they
like,
told me
all
I had
this-
to come to that. I said I'm not going to play then. I'm just giving me a refund.
Yeah,
Like Heather,
Heather's
I'm like,
the.
I'm not coming to that skate. She's like,
Yeah.
You have to. I'm like, no, I don't. I'm
No, you're already drafted.
established. Like, the fuck are we talking about?
And yeah, so the first season, dude, I got drafted. I didn't show up to that. I didn't show up to the draft. I was like, no, just give me whoever. I was like, give me whoever's left. I don't fucking care. Like, I just want to play hockey with my friends. We went to the championship that first season with this hodgepodge ass group of guys.
Was that my first year? Or have you been doing this for like 5 years?
No, I think that you were on that. Actually, you were on that team the
I
first year
filled
too.
in for Higgins.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if that was the first year. You'd already been.
No,
doing
that was.
it
I think
for
that
a
was the first season.
while. Okay.
So and then after that, I was just like, again, like the season ended. They were just like, yo, like we have another new player skate. I was like, not gonna be there. They're like draft. I was like, not gonna be there. I was like, here's my keepers. I was like, give me fucking whoever. And that's how I ended up with like Minturn and like I can't remember the other
Just
guys.
get white skates.
But like yeah, a bunch of just like hodgepodge guys. Like they're all nice dudes and stuff. But like that's how I got with all our random folks. And then the UT guys, like I ended up with those guys. And then now it's like I've got a core group of guys, and that's kind of like my mantra on that team. And I feel bad now because I'm like, well shit, like if I wasn't the captain, like I would have just bounced and come just play double A because it's 10 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, well, like, I may not be the most involved captain, but like I'm a captain, and like the boys kind of rely on me a little bit, so I feel like I got to be there.
Those group chats just get wild. Like I've never even seen the group chat you're talking about, but I cannot imagine what the fuck's going on in there. Like Nails sent out an email for the Double A League. I guess a sub shot in the shootout that we lost in, and I guess
They're
it's
like
a
forfeit.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
like,
it's nuts.
Is that a rule? Like,
That's the thing too. Is like
we were
guys
yelling
will-
it from the bench. Like other guys were that knew the rule. Like you can't shoot. The guy played at Quinnipiac. He can't fucking shoot.
Yeah.
And so we're like, hold on, what? And he goes down,
Fiala.
scores, and then I
Yeah.
miss. I'm like, fuck me, and like, no, we won. I'm like, what? Like, what is going on? And Nails just
so dumb.
hammered him with it, and then, dude, just the replies.
Well, and that's like probably why I'm a bad captain, right? Is like this shit happens where like I remember when I was out of town and we had like an extra sub or something, and like I just like get this text like, oh, like you guys had an ineligible player, blah blah. I was like, okay, we forfeit. I don't fucking care. Like, take the win. I don't like. It doesn't fucking matter to
We
me.
all make playoffs, correct?
Right? Yeah, we all make playoffs.
Gives a shit.
But no, and it's just like, or like even in playoffs, I think we had like they're like no subs in playoffs, and we had like 6 guys, and I was just like, yo, can I sub 2 guys so that we have 8? And they're just like, nope, you'll have to forfeit. And I was like, that's fine, you'll win. Like I don't fucking care. Like I don't know, dude. And that's maybe that's why like other teams have more success than us, but like I just don't care as much as maybe I should. But
Like they're all getting new jerseys. Yeah, we got newer jerseys last year. I've only been on the team for 2 years. So
it's because we have one of my hunting buddies that sponsors all of our shit.
I was like, what is this Christian?
Christian Outdoor Alliance. Fucking look them up. If you want to go hunting, they will take you on a badass hunt. Take care of you.
I wore like the Arizona State jersey for weeks because I was like, I don't want this fucking crest on me. Like,
Oh,
what
dude,
is
that's
this? Like,
we had these 2 kids that the first season.
they're Jewish. Like,
Yeah, we had 2 Jewish kids on our team.
Oh my god.
And they were brothers. They were sick. They were badass, fucking cool dudes. They both moved away. Otherwise, they'd probably still be playing with us. They're awesome dudes. But I remember them like first game because we had like, dude, like our jersey was like, it was ugly as shit. It was like blue and maroon, and it had like a big cross
Blue?
with like, it was maroon. The whole jersey was maroon. It had this big crest. It was blue in the middle, and it had a big cross, and it had a marlin breaching on one side, and a fucking and a buck looking off to the other side, and it said Christian Outdoor Alliance. And I was out hunting with my buddy. He was like, "Dude, I'll give you $1,000 if you put me on your jerseys." I was like,
Shit.
"Done." I was like, "I'll put you right in the front."
What's the line of jerseys cost? The whole team. We got 13. 15?
$800.
Not bad.
No, it's not too bad. And so I was like, done. I was like, I'll put you right there in the front. And so like first game, these guys come up and they're like, hey man, we're Jewish. I hope that's cool. And
Yeah,
I was
yarmulkes
like,
on.
what? And they were like, yeah, they're like, you guys, it's the Christian Outdoor Alliance. And I was like, dude, our team name has beer in it. I was like, I don't care at all. Like, it doesn't matter a bit. Like, I don't like, I don't care what religion anybody is. Just like, we're just here to play hockey, man. And yeah, I don't know. That's like my whole thing with this whole hockey team was just like, I couldn't drink beer with my friends at the crossover, so I started this team so that I could drink beer with my friends at Chap, and it's turned into something that, like, you know, like I've made some really, really good friends that I probably will have for the rest of my life just playing men's league hockey. And
it's all good connects. Like, you know, I wasn't a frat guy when I went to ASU, but like a lot of guys were like, hey, if I don't make the team this year, I'm going to join a frat. I'm like, so you're going to pay $5,000 to friends? Like, that's kind of fucking weird.
just like playing $5,000 to play hockey.
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm doing the exact same thing, but it's people that I do like. Like I said, with
That's
the
it.
AA team, it's like, I like Kimmer, and I like a couple of guys on the team.
But if you stick with that league, man, because it is a draft league, you're going to meet more and more people that you like. And that's I will always sing the praises of the AA league for that reason. Like, I have a lot of friends that play in that league because I played 2 seasons there before I started this team. So I like made friends with everybody. And you know what? There's no fucking bullshit in that league. There's nobody getting in fights. There's nobody fucking there's nobody taking cheap shots. Like, nobody's taking runs at each other because you just won't get fucking drafted. Like, they just won't pick you up next season.
I was second to last drafted, and I'm like, the fuck? But no one knows who I am. TJ's like, oh shit, that's the guy that taught me how to play hockey. He's like, yeah, get Kyle at the end. Like, fucking get whoever we need, and then we'll get Kyle at the end. I'm like, I look at the list. I'm like, is this fucking accurate? Like, what the fuck is this? TJ's like, yeah, dude, we snuck you in at the end. I'm like, the fuck?
That's how Porky was was one of the last picks the first year that he played, and that's how I met him to start coaching with him, because I was in the locker room. We were playing on a team. Miles was on that team. And Miles was done coaching. He was just like, man, he's like, I'm tired of it. Him and Mariah were starting to get serious.
The shit I heard from him, like some fight with a parent.
Yeah, it was so dumb.
Year.
I thought I was gonna bring him a fist fight on that one.
Shit.
But he goes. So he was like, man, I'm done coaching, and the organization had reached out to me, and they were just like, hey, I know Miles is done. We want you to be a head coach. I was like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
That's a lot.
And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I've coached hockey for 1 season my whole life. Like, and I was not even that good of a hockey player. Like, why do you want me to be a head coach? And they're like, oh, you're a good motivator, whatever. And I was like, okay. And so I didn't have an assistant. And I was in the locker room after the game, and I asked, Joey Sundgren was on the team, and I asked him, and I was like, hey, man, will you be my assistant coach? I was like, I don't want to coach with somebody I don't know and don't like. Like, the last thing I want to do is travel with somebody that is a fucking wet blanket.
Like, you just keep bouncing questions off me, and
Yeah, exactly.
Look out the window, like, that would fucking blow.
And so I asked Joey, and he was like, no, because this is before he started X Factor. And he was like, no, he's like, how do
you feel about the name of X Factor?
I don't give a shit, whatever. But he was like, oh, I'm going to start this thing. And he's like, this is going to take up a lot of my time. And I'm not, I can't commit the time. And I was like, oh, okay, I understand. And Porky, who I didn't even know, he had just got done playing at Bentley, just moved there. And he was like, he's like coaching. He was like,
how did he get here? Like,
his wife is from Austin.
Okay.
Yeah, Bella is here from Austin. And he was like, I might be interested in coaching. And I was just like, this is a funny story. So he's like, I might be interested in coaching. And I was like, okay, cool. I didn't really know him. We just played together. And I was like, you know what? I was like, let's go out on the boat one day. Right? So I fucking put him on my 15-foot John boat.
I like that move. You're like, let me get you secluded.
Yeah, I was like, let's just hang out, right? Like, I was just like, let's hang out as boys and just see how it goes. And so I go pick him up. I pick him up on the boat. We go out, and I had an issue at the time. I didn't realize it until later, but I had an issue with the base gasket. My motor was leaking a little bit, which is not a huge deal, except that it would release carbon monoxide into the cowling of the motor, right? So what it would do is you could run all day, and it would have enough oxygen to get along, but when you went to start it and it took in a bunch of oxygen, it would flood the motor.
So you need to leave the motor on if you're stationary.
Well, but I didn't know this at the time.
Yeah.
So, or really the best way to do it is just pull the cowling off of it so that it got fresh air constantly. And so basically it flooded the motor. Me and him are on Lake Austin stranded. I'm pulling the fuck out of the motor one after the other, cursing, whatever. And he's just cool as a fan about it. And afterwards I was like, you still want to coach with me? He was just like, yep. And I was like, all right. And we coached together all last season and became good friends.
They won a championship, no less. Like, fuck.
Yeah, we won a championship.
Nice little touch. Now, Aiden was on that team or no?
Aiden was on that team, yeah. And, yeah, it was awesome. He wanted to hit so fucking bad last season. He was so funny.
Yeah,
I had to reel him in because I told him, I was, because like, I'll tell the boys to talk some shit, right? Like, I'll be like, yeah, you guys gotta get in their ear a little bit, right?
Get an asshole.
And I told him too, like, I remember when I was like a bantam, like midget minor, like I would be like, I was Aiden, right? Like I was Aiden.
I felt the same way. Like when I saw him, I'm like, you're my dude. Like you're the guy. You're the captain right away.
Yeah, and I remember I used to go through and whenever I was forechecking, I would scream like a banshee, dude. Like I would,
high pitch like Machon?
No. Like I would, and I would just be like, "Don't fuck up! Like you suck!" Like, whoa! Like I'm screaming, and guys would fumble the puck and stuff in the corners, like defensemen, because I'd be burying them all game long. And I told him, I told him last season, I was like, "Hey, whenever you go to forecheck, I was like, fucking scream at them. I was like, just be fucking crazy, just be an absolute maniac."
Like the dude in a fight, right? Like you get in a fight with a random guy, and he starts doing like fucking whatever kung fu. And
his eyes are all crazy.
Like,
you're like, whoa,
what did
I get into? Right?
Like, oh shit.
And dude, so in the playoffs last year, I told him before the semifinal game, I was like, man, I need you to be crazy today. I need you to be crazy. And he's like, all right. And dude, he's like, there's a puck battle like right in front of our bench, and Aiden's coming in. There's no contact, or there's limited contact, right?
Like
he's coming in.
Out,
and he's like, "I'll fucking kill you!" And this is 12U, and like the ref doesn't call it or anything, but like you can't threaten people. And so like I get him back to the bench, and I was like, "All right, buddy." I was like, "Love the intensity. Let's bring it down just a notch." Like,
I don't like you. And he goes in. I'm like, yeah.
That's why I always tell the boys, I was like, don't curse at them, right? Don't threaten them. Just tell them how bad they are.
So my D partner in my D partner in Alpena, we were playing Emerson Edom, black guy, very, very fast, like blow past me, speed, Olympic rink,
sure.
How it goes. I'm like, fuck, I can't figure out my gap. Like, I don't, the boards are too fucking...
Olympic rink gaps are way different.
So we're playing Team USA in our league, in playoffs, and he just blows past me, scores a goal, did way too much on the celly. Like, there's no one in the stands, just scouts. So it's just he's doing like this crazy celly, and then my D partner goes and calls him the N-word. Suspended 5 games. Like, I'm like, Sofi, what are you doing, dude? Like, the fuck, man? Like, now you're gone. I'm gonna play with some random guy now? Like, the fuck, with a pull a guy from Junior B? Like, but like, just mind blowing that then he's from a small town, Alpena, Michigan, where we played, and like maybe 5,000 people live there. Yeah. And so it's like that was just normal. He's like, I don't know what I did wrong. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Holy
like,
shit. That's a whole different level.
And that's where we have to teach these kids, like, hey, you can only say this to this to this. And then when you cross, like, that's why I liked my old podcast. It was called Offsides.
That's like 2 full steps across the line.
Yeah,
though.
it's just, it's offsides, all the shit I say. And, like, that's not what I want to be, right? Like, that's why I was like, I'm not going to call this one the Offsides podcast because I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, I need clickbait. No one cares. But for him to say that and like get suspended and like like we're on a playoff run, like we tell the kids, hey, the rest of these games we have left, I don't know, maybe 7 games or something like that, like including that tournament in Nashville, it's like we have to gear up for this. And then that was just a stick in the wheel. And it's like, dude, you fucked over the whole team because you said a word. Like,
yeah, it's crazy.
What goes through your head, or like do you not think about like repercussions? Like I had a big problem with that before. It's like, oh, just run your mouth, do whatever, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. Like, you can't say, like,
especially at this day and age, man.
Like that's what, like,
shouldn't follow you.
You guys are like, oh, Benoit's waiting for you in the parking lot. I'm like, well, I'm not going up there. Like, I'm going to stay in here, and, like, I'm going to wait him out. Or, like, I don't know what he has, a gun, like, stab me. I have no idea. It's Texas. Yeah. It's the Wild West. So I'm like, I don't know. And then comes in and starts chirping me. It's like, dude, you're really pushing a fucking line here. Like,
wild.
Why would you do this? And, like, I'm there with random people, like Stormy and his girlfriend. Like, she's, like, I was about to step in. I'm like, you're 5'4". You're not going to step into anything. Yeah. Like, a pile of shit, maybe. But I was just mind blown that, like, just in front of random people calling me out. Like, dude, you don't know who the fuck I am. Like, I know who you are and stuff, but, like, don't come at me with that. It's just...
Podcast is brought to you by Atomic Red Line Rhino.
I don't don't know. Like, did someone start doing this and I just copy their manual?
No, it works because there's nothing like the first time that you ever hit one of these. Did you stuff your nose in it? Oh, it's terrible.
Yeah, so I got the ones that the AHL and NHL guys usually break the packet and then you just
those are great.
So that's what woke me up.
Then you can
for my first concussion was I was in Kelowna in a tournament. We're in the championship game and I'm like, I don't know why I did this. I should have just turned fucking what's his name, Cal McCare or whatever. I should have just turned to my right and I'm at the left side corner. And so I'm backtracking. I'm just skating backwards, about to throw up the boards off the glass or something to get out of the zone. And so I should have just turned and taken around the net and done something with it.
Sure.
But me being lazy at that point, I assume I went backwards. I'm going to chip it
towards the corner.
And I just get fucked up by a guy.
Buried.
Head off the glass. Mouth guards weren't required, but neck guards were. Like, what? And I don't know if maybe it's the clapping the teeth. I have no idea how concussions really work. I have so many of them. But I just get clocked. And then I wake up in the locker room. This is one of the saddest stories. Sorry, Mom. She's in the locker room with me. It's just me and her. Like, third period's going on. And she's like, hey, you okay? I'm like, who the fuck are you?
Shit.
Dude,
it's a good concussion.
Yeah, that guy got me. Like, and I'm a target, right? Like, I fall out, and they're like, we gotta take this fucking guy out. So I don't remember who she is, and 5 minutes later, just puzzle pieces go back together, and I'm just like, what happened? She's like, you have a concussion, and I'm having an out of body experience. I'm watching it from a webcam that didn't exist at the point in the corner of the room. And I'm having this conversation with my mom about how I don't remember, and now I do, and everything's good. And apparently I got knocked out sitting on the bench, some of those benches they have a goalie bench. So that's what a real rink should have, a little bit back offset. Yeah. And I'm sitting there, they hit me with the smelling salts. I come back to life. I'm like, let's go, and I just jump onto the fucking. They're like, no, and they grab me by my jersey, get him in the locker room, tell his mom to come down here,
That's the same shit that happened. Do you remember my last game?
Yeah, that was sad, man. I was like, that's not the way Joe goes out.
Dude, that sucked. But same thing. I remember being coming back to and being fucking mad and going and sitting right with my line and being I'm ready to go. And Cosmo being you're not going anywhere. He's like, you're going to the locker room. I was like, fuck.
That's I was like, dude, that's not the way. I don't know. I'll always champion you. You're the fucking man. And so when I saw just that interaction and just the sadness of you just being what? I can't go back up.
Yeah.
Nice.
3 games left in my college career.
Yeah, it's just dude.
Oh, that was the only time I've ever told my mom to shut up. On the way to the hospital because I had a brain bleed a couple of years before that too. So I was I didn't have any hockey left in me, and I was able to go. And then I was on the way to the hospital. My mom was just she's like, you're you can never play where you're done. You can't play hockey. And I was like, Mom, I need you. I was like, Mom, I need you to shut up. I was like, you need to shut up right now. And my dad was just please stop talking. Oh, dude, I'm getting fucking misty here talking about it because I was in the hospital. I just remember hugging my dad and just crying with him, being yep, that's it. I don't get to play hockey anymore.
Yeah, my last game in Corpus, the road's over and you think college could come, but, you don't know if that's going to happen. And I'm just sitting in the tunnel. There's 5 guys ahead of me. I'm the first out every time.
Right.
I'm like, no, you guys go ahead. I'm just sitting there crying, just looking up, tears. I'm hoping they hit the visor so someone could see, but I'm just sitting there it's the last game of the year. They do a charity thing for the last game of the year there in Corpus. Sell it out, 8,000 people, discounted tickets.
Sure.
Hot dog and beers are cheap, whatever. Everything goes to charity after, and I'm just sitting there this is it, man.
It was the last one.
Yeah, we're gonna.
At least you got that though.
Yeah.
At least you saw it in front of you. You know what I mean? Instead of behind you.
And then we lose the game. I'm the only guy to score on a one-timer from the point, 4-1 loss. And if we won that game, we go to playoffs. So I thought there might be a road here, but yeah, it was just man, this is it, man. And I know I have to go down that road again, with my company and career stuff and life in general. There'll be a time I'm in a bed and I can't move, and I go, yeah, this is it, man.
Yeah.
We're going to the 5th dimension next.
It's hard to think that anything else matters as much as hockey.
It's so
even as something that doesn't matter that much, it's fuck, it does.
Like, you know, when I would come into the locker room after a loss, I'm like, fuck boys, you know, fuck. Like, I want to be that guy. It's like, you know, that's hockey.
Yeah.
And, like, that's what I said to everyone when they chirped me about the Ravens. Like, that's football, man. Like, it's
sports.
That's why you watch it, is for that dopamine hit at the end, because you're anticipating something, and then, you know, it doesn't work out sometimes. And, like, you game planned it wrong. You thought, they ran the ball 8 times yesterday.
8?
Yeah.
That's tough.
And 2 of them were technically throws behind the line and runs. So I'm like, this is crazy. Like, why would you game plan for that? They have one of the worst run defenses in the NFL, and you're the best, number 1 in run offense. And you're like, we're gonna run it. Goes back.
Not gonna run the ball.
And Lamar was like a half a second like behind on everything. Like drops back, should have ran, but then he goes, I gotta throw. No, fuck. And then like the whole system's fucked up. Like,
yeah, it's tough.
It's just. I don't know, just stacked losses yesterday. I'm like, maybe I'll get a win at Joe's house. Maybe I'll make a couple of jokes and people will laugh. Like, it's just like, fuck, man. Like,
I gotta take a piss.
All right.
I'm gonna take a piss.
We should probably kill this.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm roast stogie.
All right. Well, as always, Mike Menewy.